Let me see who's in the chat real quick. What's up, Andrew, Ram, Bates Truther, Terry, Josh, and everyone else watching? What's up? Welcome to my channel. So I'm back at UCR today. So yeah, I just didn't want to make the drive today to UCLA. It's a little bit closer from where I live, but the traffic is way heavier. You take an additional 30 minutes with traffic than getting here. So plus leaving, because his rush hour is at 5, so the closer it gets to 5, the more traffic there is. So usually when I leave UCLA, the traffic home is like an hour and 40 minutes, so that fucking sucks. But from here it's about an hour, under an hour still, like 55 minutes or so from here. So yeah, I just wanted to shave as much time as possible today, so I just came to UCR. Honestly, I would have preferred to go to UCLA, but like I said, I wanted to avoid the traffic today and, you know, the extra hassle, I guess. But what's up, Rising Earth, Owen? What's up, Pie-Eyed Piper, Natalie? Let me see if I can move this up a little bit, because there you go. All right. Oh shit. Yeah, in the last video, was it the last live? But yeah, one of the last videos that I posted, where the guy was talking about, the older guy at UCLA, when he was talking about, oh, they have detected, they have like a gravity ray detector, or you know, or detected gravity rays and blah 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 blah, and gravity has been measured, right? And they have all of these, they have this technology that they use to detect it. So somebody's approaching the table, so I'll get back to that after. What's yeah. So first question, do you guys trust your common sense?
I hope so.
Right? I mean, it's what keeps you alive, so everyone should, right? Mm-hmm. So I have 2 very easy questions to see if people do trust their common sense. So let's start with the first one. So I have a box truck here, and it's completely sealed, obviously. Yes. Like it's closed and everything. And there's a bowling ball inside, hanging from a rope. Yes. Inside. So one of these box trucks is at rest, one is accelerating forward, and one is accelerating in reverse. So out of these 3, which one is at rest?
I would assume it's B.
Yeah, it is B. You guys got it. What would you say B though? Yes, exactly. So which one's accelerating forward?
I would assume A. It might be C, but my assumption.
No, you got it. It is A. Yeah. And the reason why do you think it's A, if I may ask?
It's so that when you're running, when things drag, you tend to pull back, and even like if you have something hanging off your car, it swings off that way rather than going forward.
Yeah, it's just like for the same reason you get pushed back in your seat when you accelerate. Exactly. It has to do with inertia. So this is trying to remain in its position in space, and then the whole truck is moving forward and it's being left behind, pretty much. You know. All right. So you guys got the first one. So the second one. It's pretty similar, but instead of a bowling ball, it's a helium balloon. So that's the only difference in this one. So out of these 3, which one is at rest?
B.
Yeah, and it's for the exact same reason as the first, obviously. So which one's accelerating forward?
I would still guess A.
A? Which one? A? And this one's actually C. So, and the reason why it's C is because helium is obviously less dense than air. So when you accelerate the container, or in this case the truck, in this direction, all of the air that's inside as well, it's also being pushed in that same direction. And because air is more dense than helium, is able to push it in the same direction that the force was applied. So buoyancy, you guys heard of buoyancy, right? When something floats in water, for example. So if something is less dense than the medium that surrounds it, that's always going to follow the direction of the force, because the medium that surrounds it is able to push it. You know, so here I can demonstrate that here, for example. So this is a buoyant object, obviously, it floats in water. If I accelerate in this direction, what direction do you think the ball is going to go?
Probably to the right if you're telling me that direction.
Yeah, same direction as the force. So it hits this side of the wall, you know, when I accelerate. So again, that's just what buoyancy is. It's a chain reaction of a force. So here, I did this experiment myself in a cargo van.
Yes.
I want to see if you guys can tell which direction did I accelerate this. So instead of a bowling ball, I used an apple and obviously the helium balloon as well. So did I accelerate to the right or did I accelerate to the left?
To the right.
To the right, obviously. Because obviously not only does matter show you the instant I accelerate, but it also shows you the direction I accelerate. Again, because buoyancy follows that direction, right? So I did it in a smaller scale like this, with a container filled with water and a ping pong ball and a steel ball. So obviously the ping pong ball is buoyant and the steel ball is not. So what direction would you say I accelerated here? To the right or to the left?
To the right.
Exactly, because that's the direction buoyancy is going, you know. So perfect, you guys got it. So one last one.
Yes.
I did a vertical acceleration. So I was holding a water bottle like this with a ping pong ball and a steel ball, and I accelerated one of these water bottles down vertically. So I want to see if you could tell me which one of these two did I accelerate down vertically, the one on the left or the one on the right?
Vertical? Like you mean like through?
Yeah, down. Which one did I accelerate down vertically?
Maybe the one on the right?
Yeah. It's obviously because that one shows a change.
Yeah.
Again, matter reacted to the acceleration.
Yeah.
You know, the buoyant object got pushed down and then the steel ball got left behind.
Yeah.
Because the bottle's moving down. Yeah. So let me ask you guys this. If I was holding this bottle, right, like this at rest, and I just simply released it, do you guys believe gravity pulled it down to the ground? Yes. Okay, so the one on the left was actually free fall. That's exactly what I did. But we see that matter didn't react to that acceleration. Because I don't know if you guys knew, gravity is just the theory. So a physical downwards acceleration or a physical downwards force has never been detected. Because acceleration requires a force. And a force will always cause pressure, which will cause the buoyant object to move and react. So matter will always react to pressure. But in free fall, there is no pressure or force. So that's why gravity is just a theory, because it has never been proven. So what's happening, right? Why do objects appear to go down then, right? So if we understand buoyancy follows the direction of the force, if I have a helium balloon here on Earth and I release it, what direction does it go?
Up.
Yes, it goes up. Why do you think it goes up?
Probably due to the density you're talking about? Or...
Yeah, it has to do with the density. Obviously, it's less dense than air. So the air is able to push the helium up because the air is more dense. Now, in this example, it was the truck that created the force to push the air to push the helium. So here on Earth, what's creating the force to be able to push up the air to be able to push up the helium?
What's creating the force?
Yeah, what's creating the force here on Earth to be able to push up the air to be able to push up the helium?
I'm not too sure.
No, so it's actually the ground itself is pushing up on you right now.
Okay.
So gravity is not a pulling force of the Earth; it's a pushing force of the Earth. So that's why a pulling force of gravity is just a theory, because the reality is it's a pushing force of the Earth. So when people say, "Well, how are we stuck to the Earth?" Right? It's not that we're being pulled down to the Earth; it's that the Earth is constantly pushing up against you right now. So that's why we're stuck to the Earth, because it's a constant push up. And that push up of the Earth is what creates the pressure here in the air, and then that's able to push up helium balloons. You know,
because kind of like you're trying to say, they're talking about physics, like the way this table is able to hold stuff because of the amount of force you're putting down is pushing back up. Is it kind of like what you're getting at, or it's different?
So that's what explanation of gravity. So they say that things get pulled down, and then there's an upwards push
Back.
back. But the reality is that the upwards push can only happen if the Earth was literally moving up. And then this downwards pull that they're claiming, or this downwards force, has never been measured or detected. So that's just fantasy. So a gravitational field doesn't exist. So the gravitational field is fictitious, because the real force is the Earth pushing up on us right now. And that's what gives us the illusion that there is some kind of gravitational field here. But the force is a push of the Earth. So the Earth is literally moving up through space right now. And that's what gravity is. You know, the Earth's motion up. So that's what gravity. So if we were to accelerate the Earth even faster, guess what? We're gonna get stuck. We're gonna get heavier. So that's what gives us weight, and that's what gravity is. It's literally the upwards push of the Earth. So let me ask you guys this. So you guys believe the Earth is a ball, right? This is the real reason why I'm doing this. So you understand that on a ball, up is relative, right? In other words, if you're standing here, up will be this way. But if you're standing down here, up will be like in the opposite direction from this person. So in every direction away from the center will be up on a ball, you know? So if we could prove that the ground is literally moving up, which is what's creating buoyancy here on Earth, and that can be demonstrated, if we could prove that the ground is literally moving up, how can the Earth move up simultaneously in every direction if it was a ball?
Okay, so you're saying that you don't believe that it permeates from all directions. You
Yes,
think
so
it's only from
I'm
one
claiming that the Earth can't move omnidirectional. But if it was a globe and we could prove that the ground is moving up, then the Earth will have to be moving omnidirectional if it was a ball to be able to push up.
direction. If we go with the assumption that we're being pushed up rather than down.
Yes, if we could prove that, how would that work from a globe?
In that instance, then we can prove
It wouldn't work, right? Exactly. So in order for people to believe in the ball Earth theory, they first have to believe in the theory of gravity being a pulling force. Because again, if we could prove it's the other way around and it's the Earth literally pushing up and not pulling us down, then the whole globe Earth concept will fall apart. Because gravity is the number one, I wouldn't even call it proof, I would say, and the number one explanation that the globe Earth has. Because without gravity being a pulling force, they can't explain like orbits, they can't explain how people stick to the Earth, they can't explain, anything, how airplanes fly level over a ball, in other words, without having to adjust for curvature. They say gravity autocorrects. So again, gravity is...
What do you mean with the flying?
So airplanes fly level over the Earth. So that means that they're flying straight, level meaning horizontal. But gravity proponents, globe Earth proponents will say, oh, that happens because the gravity, it's autocorrecting. So because the Earth has to curve, right? If you're flying straight, you have to bend, you have to point the nose down to continue with that curvature, right?
Sure.
But airplanes don't do that. So the explanation for that is, oh, gravity autocorrects the airplane. So that's why you never have to dip your nose down to go over a curve. And that's why airplanes just fly straight, because gravity, but again, gravity is just a theory. It's just the theory that's used to explain away everything that doesn't make sense.
So is there a way that you guys can push that there is something that's moving the Earth up and pushing us up?
Yes. So that we prove that through buoyancy. So just like I showed in this container, for example, in order for the helium balloon to get pushed in this direction by the air that's more dense, the air also has to be moving in that same direction through space. There's no way for the air to be able to push a helium balloon in any direction if the air's not moving in that same direction as well. Does that make sense?
I'm trying.
So if the air is pushing the helium balloon, for example, right, in any direction,
yeah,
right?
because the air is basically heavier.
So the air is heavier.
Yes.
So, but in order for the air to be able to push the helium balloon in any direction, the air also has to be in motion in that same direction. Does that make sense? So, for example, like if a leaf gets blown in by the wind that direction, that means the air is blowing in that direction. There's no way the air could be blowing in this direction, but pushing a leaf in that direction. That makes sense, right? So if we understand that the air is a direct correlation to why helium balloons rise, or even lighter gases, then it's obviously the air pushing on the object, right?
But isn't it also that the balloon is tethered to like an object that's moving?
No. Well, if it is tethered, so it doesn't just hit the ceiling in this scenario.
Yeah.
But if it wasn't moving, it would just remain parallel.
Yeah.
But as soon as I apply a force and the air starts to move in either this direction or this direction, that motion of the air through space is what pushes anything that's less dense in that same direction.
Okay.
So if we see a helium balloon move up, it's literally the air pushing it up. So we understand that the air has to be moving up through space to be able to push up the helium. So the air atmosphere here on Earth is literally moving up through space. And so what's creating that push up? That's the point, right? To be able to push up buoyant objects. Yeah.
But doesn't also like the states of matter also have something to do with what goes up and down?
Yes. So if something is more dense than air, then the air is not thick enough to be able to push it up. So just like with the bowling ball experiment, it gets left behind, right? From the container. So when you release something that's more dense like this, the air here is not dense enough to push this up like a helium balloon. So the Earth just comes up to meet it. So when we release this into free fall, this doesn't accelerate down towards the Earth. It's the Earth that comes up to the object. So that's what's happening. So because we're constantly moving up, as soon as something that's more dense in the air is not connected or tethered to the Earth somehow, it just starts to fall back. It falls behind now. It doesn't necessarily fall down. It looks like it falls down because everything's moving up. So right now, because we're connected to the Earth, we feel that pressure under our feet. We're moving up right now. So anything that's not connected to the Earth, it just appears to go down because everything else is moving up. So that's the reality. That's what physics shows us, in other words. So gravity, again, they want us to believe that there is a gravitational field, again, a fictitious force field, to basically lie to everyone about what the Earth actually is. Because again, if we could prove it's the other way around, it wouldn't work. So the Earth, again, it's a level plane, and it's just moving in one direction, which is up relative to us. Because again, no piece of matter could move omnidirectional, or even in two directions at the same time. Like you can't move this front and back at the same time. You would have to cut it in half and move it. So the globe Earth wants you to believe that's possible, with it pushing up. But again, that can easily be debunked. So if I was to ask you guys respectfully, what's the number one proof or reason that makes you believe the Earth is a ball?
Earth is a ball.
Yeah, why do you guys believe Earth is a ball?
Well, one, obviously we can't over pictures, that we've seen. Just like we can understand that how it can appear like flattened out because of it's such a huge scale.
Yes.
Compared to a ball, like if you were to get like a big ball even and then put something like a speck, you can understand how the speck could, in that perspective, be flat. And then like even an airplane, the size, the ratio comparisons, that although it might not be curving down, the way, or at least to my knowledge, I don't know,
sure.
Airplanes, they travel is that it depends on the distance they have from the ground. So long as they maintain that distance, that's why sometimes when they're flying, they're not necessarily pointing their nose down, but that distance changes. That's the point of the pilot's job or the system's job to maintain that distance consistently. So there is some motion to whether it be up or down, just to maintain that distance. So. Just for the airplane argument, but yeah, but my main reason for thinking the Earth is round, it's just because of just conceptually it makes sense. Just when I see balls examples and based on the evidence we have in research, and it could be fake, but based on my, like I said, the science that I've seen, it seems to be real. And then just by looking at the moon as well.
Okay, you said pictures first, right? Now I'll answer that first. So, just before I get into that, if I showed you a picture of me walking on water, or a video, we'll go with video. If I showed you a video of me walking on water, would you believe I could do that? Would you believe I can actually walk on water?
Probably see it in person.
Now, here, let me ask it a different way. Would you believe I could walk on water if I showed you a video, or would you conclude that I'm using some kind of trickery, whether it's with camera trickery or using mirrors or something?
I think there's a possibility for anything, but I would highly suspect some sort of trickery.
Why would you suspect that I'm using some sort of trickery?
Because I've never seen or heard of that before.
Well, could we agree that defies physics? Somebody walking on water? So even if you show me a realistic video of it, first of all, I wanted you to show me in person, but second, obviously that defies physics. So it's like somebody showing me a video of walking through walls, for example, right? I'm not going to believe that. That's impossible. That defies physics as well. So the globe Earth actually defies physics as well, not only with gravity being a push, not a pull. Do you know the radius of the Earth? Because I know you said that it's so big that...
I did at one point. I don't know anymore.
Okay, so it's 3959, allegedly. So they have to give us these numbers because they are claiming that they have satellites orbiting the Earth, right? So they need to know the radius of orbit. So they need to know the radius of the Earth if they're supposedly going around it. So they have to give us these numbers. So 3959, obviously if we multiply that times 2, we get the diameter, and then we can calculate for the circumference. So the circumference of the Earth is 24,901 miles. That's around, the distance around. So based on the dimensions of the Earth, there has to be curvature every mile, and every mile it increases. So in the first mile, there's an 8-inch drop. Second mile, 32 inches, and by the third mile, there should be 6 feet of measurable curvature. So how do we measure for that curve, right? To see if it's actually there. There's actually a very easy way to do it. So if we went to a giant lake that was miles across, once the water's contained and at rest, if we build a level structure over that body of water, the water is going to show that it's going to be parallel to anything horizontal above it, because the physics of water shows that once it's contained and at rest, the surface always collapses and forms an equal surface, which is level, which is horizontal. They're trying to tell us that the surface of water and the surface of every lake here on Earth is bending 8 inches per mile squared. So they're claiming that between the starting point and the end point, there's going to be a 6-foot drop from the starting point to the end point of the surface of water, which is a physical impossibility when we're talking about the physics of water, because water, again, doesn't have a form. It conforms to the shape of the container, but the surface always collapses and forms a horizontal, right? So this will be the number 2 proof to debunk the globe Earth, is the fact that there is no measurable curvature or physical measurable curvature of the Earth.
No, I have a question. So what do you say when they talk about these ships and they have like telescopes, like really refined telescopes, and they don't just peer off into the distance, they say it actually goes downward. Maybe not, I don't know if it goes down to that degree, but they describe that the ship is like they're going downwards into the abyss. Yes.
So people think that the horizon is the curvature of the Earth, and boats go over the horizon, right? People say they do appear to go over the horizon, but we do have a limit to how far we can see. So I don't know if you knew that. So like for example, when you observe an object and it gets further away, it starts to appear to shrink at a distance, right? So there is a limit to how far we can see, and the horizon is simply the limit of perspective. So it's the limit of your field of view. So anything that goes beyond the horizon, your visible horizon, just appears to go beyond that limit, but it's not going over a curve. It's just going out of view.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what's happening. Because when you bring out a camera, a powerful zoom camera, and you zoom into that boat, you're able to pop it back into view.
Okay, and then my last question, only I know this because like my dad was in the military, that
Sure.
there's like a lot of satellite imaging that he was able to oversee, or had people who he knew oversee, and they proved that like where the continents were in relation to each other, right?
Okay.
And then so we can agree on that, right? That they have a certain relation to each other.
Well, I don't know if you knew, a 100% accurate map of the Earth doesn't exist. So all these are,
I'm aware,
yeah. So all of the projections that we have are just projections. Nobody has an actual 100% map of the Earth.
But we have like a close enough relation. That,
Sure, you could say that, yeah.
And then based on that close enough relation, like I know that he himself traveled from like our coast, like California, to Asia, and then how would you explain how he got there? Rather, because you know they were able to track where they were by echolocation stuff, bottom of the ocean. They have like really like cool satellite imaging.
Yeah.
How would you explain that they got from one end to the other without circumventing all around? And they can prove directly that they did go in a straight path.
Yeah, so they use GPS, obviously. Nowadays, people just use GPS. They just follow coordinates on a projection, again, which is not a real thing. But they follow 2 points on a projection, and that's how they navigate, right? So that would work either or. I don't know how that would prove that the Earth is a globe, in other words.
That they went in like a straight path.
You're talking about circumnavigation?
Yeah, but basically they're able to go across the globe rather than just, going across the other continents.
Right. So here, let me show you these images here real quick. So I'll explain to you. So obviously, these are official NASA images, by the way. And just food for thought, they actually admit they don't have genuine photographs of the Earth. So every photograph of the Earth that they show us is just an image, not a photograph. So they admit they make them in a computer, so they're all composites. Okay. So the excuse for that is that, we can't get high enough to take a full picture of the Earth, so we just take strips of imagery and we stitch them together and Photoshop them in a computer, and that's why we don't have a real photograph of the Earth. But in reality, it's because the globe Earth doesn't exist. So, but that's the excuse they give us. Now, when it comes to navigation, obviously the north will be here, right, on a globe. And you're saying that they're going from like here, like around this way.
From here, this way.
This way, okay, this way. So here's the thing: if you have a globe and you just simply open it up, for example, like in every like that, open it up, the north will be the center point, and then the continents will just be spread out this way.
Okay, so what do you mean the north? Just so I understand.
So the north, will be this right here, the center point, because that's the top of the globe, right? That will be the top. But if we open the ball, for example, like that, the north will be at the center, right? Okay. So now you'll have Asia on this side of the north, then you'll have America on this side of the north, right? So instead of you going around a globe, what you're doing simply is just going straight lines like this. So you're going from here to there, but it's just simply opened up. So instead of you believing you're going over a globe, you're just simply going across the way. So you're still taking the same coordinate system, except you're not going over a bump. You're just going straight. Like you said, we travel in straight lines. The shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. And
so my last question is, do you think there's an end to the Earth then?
Yes, there is. A lot of people like to kind of mock that there's an edge, you're gonna fall off the edge, right? But in my opinion, there's an end to the Earth because the Earth is being physically contained. Because second law of thermodynamics, I don't know if you've heard of entropy.
I think I've heard that.
So if you have two opposing gas pressure systems next to each other without a solid barrier separating the two, there's always going to be equilibrium, because high pressure always moves to the lower pressure until there's equilibrium. So that's the law of entropy, right? So they're claiming outer space is a negative pressure system next to the Earth's pressure without a solid barrier separating the two. So they're claiming gravity. Again, I'm telling you, gravity is the explanation for everything. They say gravity is pulling the air in and preventing it from rushing into space. Because again, entropy will just show that the air will instantly just rush into space to fill in the void unless there's a solid barrier. So in my opinion, the Earth is being physically contained somehow. So the air is being physically contained as well. Okay. So you'll reach the end of the Earth if you just go south, in my opinion. So what does this wall look like, in my opinion? What does the container look like? I don't know. I have no clue. So the Bible does talk about it, though. They call it a firmament. And they talk about what it's made out of, supposedly, and all that. But in my opinion, nobody knows what it's made of.
Okay, I think maybe, or my last question might be, like, for other planets you see, if you think they just happen to be circular, like we can it's just like just by design that way, that we have that perspective rather than... Sure.
Why do you believe that planets, let me ask you this actually before I assume. Do you believe planets and like the stars are like other Earth-like planets?
I think that maybe there's some Earth-like planets somewhere else, but I do believe that other planets or spherical shapes exist. And I've had telescopes, myself. We can be fortunate nowadays have the technology to actually see them ourselves.
Yeah. So let me show you what the stars actually look like, because a lot of people say bring up the stars as some kind of.
Or mainly like planets in particular.
Sure. So these are the planets. I was going to show them too. So first of all, talking about the lights in the sky is a red herring when it comes to the shape of the Earth, because it's completely irrelevant. So again, talking about the geometry, looking at the lights in the sky tells us nothing about the geometry of the Earth we're standing on. A direct physical measurement of the Earth is what's required to see if it curves or not, right? But this is what the stars look like, and this is what the planets look like. So not only should we not be able to zoom into them this close and bring them into focus, because they're claiming these are like 3 light years away, you know, it's like trillions and trillions of miles away. So using an 82 times zoom camera, which is what we used here, we shouldn't be able to bring these stars into focus like this. Not only that, you can see that the stars are literally just lights that change color, and it looks like they're twinkling in the water. So the planets are no different. They're just lights that look like they're rippling in water. So again, the Bible does talk about, oh, the waters above from the waters below. So it could be water outside of the Earth system, in my opinion, and not a vacuum of space. So nobody knows what these actually are. Nobody's actually been to them. They claim they have, again, but nobody can verify that or you know, or prove it. In other words, they can only make claims about it and just show us CGI about what's in outer space, because everything about outer space is CGI. Nobody's actually been outside of the Earth system, again, because it's a closed system. It's a physically closed system. They're claiming they're doing the physically impossible and going outside of the Earth and taking pictures of the whole thing, and all that's physically impossible. Nobody can go high enough to take a picture of the Earth as a whole. You know, there's a limit to how high we can fly because of air pressure. Differences in air pressure. You know, airplanes and aircraft require to push off of the air to gain lift. So the higher you elevate, the less dense the air becomes, so the less you're able to push off of it. So eventually you reach the limit of how high we can fly because of the changes in air density. So they're claiming they're going beyond that. Again, they're just making a bunch of claims that defy physics, you know, and they're just showing us cartoons. But again, the stars have nothing to do with the shape of the Earth, but at the end of the day, nobody knows what they are, you know. So that's the reality. So before you guys go, you guys heard of flat Earth, right? So I'm gonna give you guys a huge tip, because when I first came into this, I was all into flat Earth and all that as well. Turns out flat Earth is a psyop, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because over 95% of flat earthers claim the Earth is motionless. So they deny that the Earth is pushing up. So the number one proof that debunks the globe, which is the upwards push of the Earth, flat earthers are defending now. So now they're claiming the same thing as the globe. They're claiming objects accelerate down in free fall without a measurable force. So now they're coming up with their own theories about why objects go down. But it's because objects don't go down. It's the Earth that comes up. So now flat earthers, again, are no different than the globe. So they're having a false dichotomy. They're having a false debate with the globe. So that's the mainstream debate that's going on. They're both like Democrats versus Republicans. They're both being controlled by the same entity, in other words. So that's all a distraction, in other words. So the Earth is level. So that's the difference. The Earth is not flat. It's level. It's level because it's in motion. This is literally pushing up. And level is an orientation, you know, of the Earth. So the Earth is orientated level, perpendicular to its motion. So that's why the Earth is level, you know, not flat. So, I mean, any other questions before you guys go?
No, that's all. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. Here, take my channel. I go to UCLA, USC, and I go to other. Here, I'll give you one too. There you go. And I appreciate the chat.
All right, appreciate your time. Thank you.
Take care.
You too.
Have a good one. You too.
Bye.
Yeah, I'm so glad I didn't forget my water bottle. Fucking getting cotton mouth like crazy. That's the stuff. I love when people have questions. Like, that just shows that that just shows interest. You know, whether for it or against it doesn't matter. If you're asking questions, that's a good thing. Again, you're interested, whether you think it's bullshit or not. You know, it's better than someone just not having any questions, in my opinion. Like, at that point, I don't even know if you listened to anything that was presented. I don't even know if you even care about this subject at the end of the day. Like, obviously, because you're not asking questions. So, you know, obviously asking questions is obviously a good thing at the end of the day. And yeah, I do like I like explaining myself, that's for sure. So questions are always good. Again, I don't want people to believe me either. You know, I want people to understand where I'm coming from, you know, because I'm not just making this stuff up, and I'm not just saying this stuff that I'm making up. You know, I'm not making shit up. I'm going based on what reality shows me, and I'm just articulating that and showing that. you know, what reality shows me. And honestly, it's common sense, you know, at the end of the day. It's common sense. If one piece of matter is pushing on another piece of matter, it's common sense to assume that the first piece of matter that's pushing on the second piece of matter is pushing it in the same direction that the second piece of matter is moving. Like, in order for this to push this in this direction, this also has to be moving in that direction to be able to push this in that direction. Like it's literally, it's common sense. It's literally that simple. So if we observe a helium balloon rising and it's the air pushing it up, which can be measured and manipulated, and we can add to that push as well by increasing the upwards force, then we know that it's the medium that's moving up through space that's able to push up anything that's less dense. It has to be moving in the same direction, you know. So it's literally that simple. It's literally that simple. And that's why there is so much censorship. There is so much controlled opposition. There is just so much bullshit around this subject, especially the motion of the Earth. Not even flat Earth. Fuck flat Earth at this point. like flat Earth, that shit just got left behind at this point, right? It's the censorship behind the push of the Earth is insane. Like, I thought flat Earth was super censored, right? You know, little did I know, right? Little did I know. It's the push of the Earth. The number one censored topic on Earth, by far, more than flat Earth, more than any conspiracy that anyone could think of. It's the upwards push of the Earth. The upwards motion of the Earth is literally the biggest lie on Earth. Literally, by far. Even flat earthers and globe earthers believe or deny that. Deny the fact that the Earth is pushing up. You know, even though matter doesn't lie. Matter doesn't lie. I'm not manipulating or making a deal with the helium balloon and paint, you know, to make it go up. Like, I'm not it doesn't have a will of its own to be able to go in any direction it wants, right? The helium balloon is going to get pushed in whatever direction the air is pushing. So if air has pressure, then it's being pushed. Depending on the direction of that push that's creating the pressure with the air, that's the direction the air is moving. So a buoyant object will always show you the direction of the applied force through the medium. So there is an applied force through this medium we call air, right? Everyone will have to accept that, even globe earthers. Flat earthers actually deny that. So that's where flat earthers are like fucking 3 steps behind, you know. They'll deny that the Earth exerts a force. They say things rise and fall because of magic, because that's just the way it was designed, right? So the Earth itself somehow has magical properties that give matter, you know, some kind of knowing and some kind of internal force to make them go up and down without any motion of the Earth. So that's what most motionless flat earthers are claiming. But the fact is that the air itself requires a force to have pressure. Fact. Right? Gravity, the globe Earth, will claim gravity is a pulling force that's creating that pressure within the air, but the air will have to be being pressed down towards the center. So relative to the Earth, the air shouldn't be moving, you know, down or up. But yet we observe helium balloons go up, which are being pushed up by the air. And again, if gravity is so strong that is able to hold all of the air, that's obviously way more dense than helium, you know, it has that kind of force to hold all of the air down. But yet it doesn't have the force necessary to hold a helium balloon. What? That doesn't make any sense. So I was talking about the guy in my last video, the first part. It's kind of funny. He was talking about how, we have measured gravity, you know, we have I think he said like gravity ray detector and just different technologies that they've used to detect gravity rays or gravity fields, right, and shit like that. I should have asked them, this would have been clutch. If I would have asked them, I should have asked them, how have you verified all of those claims? This is how you would expose that he just has a belief. This is how you expose how people just have faith in these claims. So if anybody from now on You know, this is a tip for anybody that talks to anyone about gravity. And then they bring up that, oh, you know, we've detected gravity, you know, with different technologies, and we have the technology to detect it, and blah 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 blah, right? How have you verified that for yourself? How did you verify those claims for yourself? Or are you just blindly believing it, right? Obviously they're just blindly believing it, you know, so you can't verify any of those claims. You know, you just have to believe them, right? Just like a priest that makes a connection with God, and God told me to tell you guys this, and blah 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 blah, and you just have to believe me that I can connect with God telepathically, and he speaks to me, and only me, and you must do as I say because I'm speaking the word of God, right? That's no different than a religion where you just have to believe the words that are coming out of their mouth. You just have to believe the fucking bullshit that's coming out of their mouth. You know? So again, that's no different than the globe earth belief, you know? You just have to believe these claims about gravity, and we, you know, they have 3 experts, you know, talking about it, you know, from 3 different mainstream sources. And now, oh wow, you see, it's a consensus as well. You see, you appeal to consensus as well. You know, it's what, and it reinforces that belief, you know, in these people. You know, and how do you prove it to yourself? Oh well, there was 3 different experts that agree with it. You know, that's how I proved it to myself. You know, again, that's not proving it to yourself. That's just you believing other people. It doesn't change. Just because of 100 people, 100 scientists are claiming that, but nobody has anything practical to show for it, then they're fucking bullshit. I don't give a fuck if 100 of the most smartest scientists in the world are telling me that they can walk on water and showing me videos that they can walk on water. Guess what? I know that that's physically impossible, and I know that every single one of these 100 scientists are bullshitters. Doesn't matter how many people are claiming it. Doesn't matter if they're an expert. If they're making a claim that contradicts practical reality, then that claim is bullshit, period. Until you can demonstrate your claim to be true, in a sense where I don't have to believe it, but I just have to accept it as fact, until then you can take your theories and shove them up your ass. It's literally that simple. You know? So yeah, that's just what it comes down to, you know? Explanations are nothing without the practical, especially if we're talking about physics, right? You can explain to me how, you know, we're able to walk through walls, right? And you can have an explanation for that. That doesn't mean that that's physically possible. Again, just because you could come up with a theory and an explanation to how it is possible, that doesn't mean it's real. You know? So that's exactly what the globe earth has done to people. It's making them believe that the impossible is possible. So it's just, again, it's just faith-based. It's just, you know, preying on people, preying on gullible people at the end of the day, you know? And that's why they get us from when we're really, really, really young about the globe earth lie, because once you're an adult and you develop common sense and you develop your critical thinking skills and you understand basic physics, guess what? As a grown-ass adult, you're not going to be able to get convinced about fairy tale stories about outer space and about what the globe earth is. You're not going to be able to get convinced. They're not going to be able to convince you, which is why they get us when we're very, very young, 5 years old in school, and they start showing us the globe, and that's where we live, and it's all over the cartoons, it's all over the kids shows, every movie, kids movie, you know, on the news, everywhere. Not only do they show the globe earth, everywhere they talk about gravity. Oh, gravity, and the gravity on the moon is 1/6 of the gravity on Earth, and you can jump way higher, you know, because there's less gravitational field there, and blah 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 blah. Again, just stories and stories and stories to back up a lie, to hide the lie, in other words, to just make the lie more prettier, you know. That's all it is. All of these lies about the sky and about the sun, the moon, the stars, about outer space, you know, they're just lies to basically make the ball Earth, to give more credit to the ball Earth, in other words, because the ball Earth has nothing. The globe Earth has nothing physical, has nothing practical. So that's why they tell us all of these stories. It's not only a distraction from the actual physics that debunks the globe, but they're actually reinforcing the belief in the globe as well. So not only are they making people reinforce their beliefs in the globe by talking about outer space and all of these things that are happening outside of the Earth, not only are they reinforcing the belief of the globe Earth, but they're distracting people from the natural physics that debunks the globe. The elementary physics, the fundamental principles that debunks the globe. That's what they're doing as well. They're distracting people from that, while at the same time filling your head with a bunch of bullshit that supposedly proves a globe, but it doesn't. It's an assumption built on an assumption that's built on an assumption, right? So planets in outer space and all of this shit is built on the assumption that the Earth is a globe as well, which is built on the assumption that gravity is a pulling force, which is built on the assumption that objects accelerate down in free fall. So the whole concept, it's an assumption based on an assumption that's based on a lie. Think about that. That's exactly what we're dealing with. It's assumptions on top of assumptions on top of assumptions that are on top of lies. Like, it's just fucking mind-boggling. It's like, it's fucking insane. Like, literally, if that's not insanity, I don't know what is. If especially if that's the foundation of the population. Like, if that's literally our foundation. Our foundation is built off of just trusting authority. That's the foundation of this society that we live in, if you think about it. The foundation of this society that we live in is not true equality. It's just following orders. It's just blindly believing the experts. And you could, in any field, medicine, the economy, and politics, and science, and everything, it's just blind faith. That's the foundation of this society. Blind faith. Oh, but they preach it's about equality. It's about equality. That's what this society is about. Get fucked. Get fucked. It's not about equality. Not only do we have a hierarchy structure, right, of different levels of authority, right, that dictate how we should live our lives, right? But at the end of the day, it's all based on faith. You know, everything that people participate in, again, whether there is the economy, politics, government, religion, science, anything that's mainstream, it's just there to keep people down. You know, they're just there to get people's attention, to gain people's trust, so that people are just gonna do what they're told. So that's what it comes down to. So that's another reason why we start school so early. And then the way school is structured is to just obey an authority. So again, so the school system is teaching us what to think. They're not teaching us how to think. So the school system is not teaching us critical thinking skills, which will be how to think, which will be, you know, understanding things for yourself, you know, grammar, logic, and rhetoric, right? The trivium. Understanding things for yourself, practicality, how to discern things that are real from not. You know, having that discernment of when people are bullshitting you about the objective world, you know, is key. But if you throw that away in favor of just believing an expert, you're falling into the trap. Because that is the trap. Is to buy into concepts and ideas about your existence and what should we be doing here. And about that's what it's about. It's about control. To put it into one word, it's about control. You know, because you can't physically control humans like you do animals. Like, you know, barn animals, you can literally physically control them. You know, you can put a fence around them. You can literally physically hurt them to not leave, right? You know, with human beings, you couldn't do that. We wouldn't allow it. If somebody was doing that to a group of people and other people found out, we wouldn't allow that kind of control. Because we know any human being trying to control another human being is wrong. Especially a grown-ass adult, right? I understand if you have children then obviously trying to, controlling them to a certain limit, it's understandable, but a grown-ass adult trying to control another grown-ass adult is not, nobody would allow it, especially if they're doing it physically, right? That happens a lot in abusive relationships, right? Usually one controls the other. Usually the man controls the woman physically, right? So if people wouldn't allow that. We have laws against that, right? So guess what? They're not gonna force people into slavery by force. They're gonna do it psychologically, So again, people are being brainwashed and bamboozled into believing in absurdities and just believing experts. Again, is so that they can gain your trust, so that you just do what you're told, so that you don't look at it as slavery, because you're willingly participating. So if you're willingly participating, you don't see it as a slave, as a slave job, for example, or your 9 to 5 or whatever, because you accept that that's what you have to do, and that's what you got to pay your taxes and blah 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 blah. But again, that's just part of the psychological attack on people to control them. What's better than having slaves is literally having slaves that don't realize that they're slaves. They do things willingly. They do things with a smile on their face, right? Imagine that. So that's what we're dealing with. That's the reality of the situation we find ourselves in, and people, it's all about, where you put your attention, So again, most of the people are just being distracted. Even flat earthers nowadays are just being distracted. It's no different. Nothing's really changed that much, right? But what has changed? It's the fact that the earth is pushing up. That is gonna obliterate every fucking fallacy about the globe earth and the flat earth in an instant. It's literally that simple, So literally that simple to debunk the globe earth, Understanding that the motion of the earth is up, that debunks the whole heliocentric model. I know I haven't shown the table today, but today I went with do you trust your common sense? So I switched up the question from are you smarter than a 5th grader to do you trust your common sense? Just for today, we'll see. We'll see. Let me read some of the comments. What's up, Realm Walker? Beyond Belief. Cheswick. What's up, Dal? Stellan Alien. Jollyman, Blackbird. RJ, City. Alright, I think that's everyone that's in the chat. Let me see if there's any question. Beyond belief, once you abandon a belief, it doesn't need a replacement. That's a fallacy. Yeah, exactly. Again, people have been trained to do that. Obviously, the globe earth pushes that kind of mentality. Whereas, explain this, right? If and it's like they're always trying to fill in the gap with another explanation for some reason, even though not only does the explanation have nothing to do with the shape of the earth, but they always want a replacement explanation for some reason. Again, it's not required. If you could debunk a positive claim about the globe earth, for example, that is a requirement of the globe earth, and if you could debunk that claim, then you don't need to replace it. The good thing about when it comes to gravity, not only can we debunk the pulling force of gravity by the fact that there is no displacement in free fall or measurable force in free fall, But the replacement to that is practical. It's demonstrable. So there is a replacement for gravity being a pulling force. It's the upwards push of the Earth. So for the people that require, a replacement for a theory that's been debunked, well, the push of the Earth is the main one. But when they're talking about like, oh, explain the sun, the 24-hour sun in Antarctica, blah 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 blah. First of all, it has nothing to do with the shape of the Earth, and we don't need to replace the explanation about the 24-hour sun in Antarctica. Not only because, one, we don't know the geographic location relative to the other continents of where Antarctica is. Not only do we not know the exact layout of the Earth, we don't know exactly how the sun works either. We don't know if we're looking at the source of the sun, or if we're looking at a reflection of the sun, or we don't know exactly what we're even looking at when we're looking at the sun. We're just observing a light in the sky. We don't know exactly how it works, how it moves, how far it is, how big it is. We know nothing about the sun, right, for first. And second, we don't know the exact layout of the Earth. We don't know exactly where Antarctica is relative to the other continents, or whatever land they call Antarctica, whatever sheet of ice they call Antarctica relative to the other continents. We don't know nothing about the layout of the Earth. We don't know nothing about the sun. So trying to use those two together to prove or disprove the globe is fucking retarded. Especially if you require an alternative explanation how it could work on a flat Earth. Like, it's retarded. It doesn't prove anything. We don't need an explanation about the sun to prove the ground we're walking on. You know what we need? It's a physical direct measurement of the Earth, if that. Because again, the upwards push of the Earth, which is demonstrable to everyone, can be replicated and repeated of how matter behaves under conditions of a force. That would show without a shadow of a doubt that the Earth is pushing up. That alone debunks the entire heliocentric model, because that alone debunks the pulling force of gravity, which is the number one requirement of the globe Earth. Again, I keep saying this, it's no given that the motionless flat earthers, again, the controlled opposition, are now defending that core belief, of gravity, so. What's up, man?
Dude, how are you?
Doing good. So, first question, do you trust your common sense?
Common sense, like
just like crossing the street, for example.
Intuition,
just like knowing when to cross the street. Like, do you trust your eyes when a car's coming and knowing not to cross the street, for example?
I think I would.
Right?
I think I would.
I mean, it's what
it could be situational too.
Yeah, but I mean, it's what literally keeps you alive.
That's
At the
true.
end of the day, your common sense tells you not to breathe water, because then you're gonna drown, right? You avoid stuff like that. Experience. You could say is the best thing for common sense, to build your common sense, right? Exactly. All right, perfect. So these are very easy. So I have a box truck here, 3 box trucks, and it's completely sealed, just to make the point. But I have a bowling ball inside, hanging from a rope inside of the box truck. So one box truck is at rest, one is accelerating forward, and one is accelerating in reverse. So which one of these 3 is at rest?
I think that it would be this one that's in rest.
Yes, it is B. And why would you say B?
The bowling ball isn't moving.
Yes, exactly. It's pretty easy. So which one's accelerating forward?
A.
Yes. So how do you know it's A?
Newton's. I'm literally taking physics right now. I should know this. I think it's Newton's first law. Object stays in rest when there's no forces acting on it.
Sure.
So it's like the car is moving forward, but the bowling ball, it's attached to the string, attached to the car. So if the car is moving forward, the bowling ball is going to stay there until the string pulls it forward.
Yes. So the bowling ball is being left behind due to inertia. Yes. So you got it. That's pretty good. So the ball's being left behind until the string pulls it. Exactly. So the second one, similar, but instead of a bowling ball, it's a helium balloon tied to a string. So out of these 3, which one is at rest?
Should we be?
Yes, it is. And for the exact same reason as the first one, obviously.
Exactly,
Yes.
yeah.
So which one's accelerating forward?
I'm going to say A.
A? Okay, it's actually C in this one.
Is it really?
Yes. So the reason why is because obviously the air inside the box truck is more dense than the helium.
Mm-hmm.
So when I apply a force in this direction and the box truck accelerates in this direction, all of the air that's inside trapped in the box truck is also being pushed in that direction through space. And because air is more dense than helium, is able to push it in that same direction that the force was applied.
Really?
Because the air is moving through space, so it's able to push the helium. So I can demonstrate that here. Look, here's a ball that's buoyant inside of a water container.
Less dense than water.
Less dense than water, exactly. If I apply a force in this direction, what direction do you think the ball is going to go? Front or back?
From the example, I think it's going to go to the front.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So again, because water is more dense, it's able to push it in the direction of the force.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I actually didn't even know that till like the last few years that I actually came across that.
Dude, literally, this is my final physics course I'm taking right now.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
No, yeah. So you're taking physics.
Probably should have known that.
No, yeah. This is all about physics, basic physics, because you can explain this to a child and they'll basically get it.
Yeah.
It's not complicated,
Yeah.
right? So here, I did this experiment myself in a cargo van with a helium balloon and an apple instead of a bowling ball, but they're both tied to a string. What direction would you say I accelerated here?
You accelerated to the right.
Exactly.
Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah. So here, I did it in a smaller scale. So matter always reacts to acceleration,
Mm-hmm.
and it always shows you the direction too that it accelerates. Because look, here is a water container with a steel ball and a
Same
pink,
thing.
Same thing.
Wow.
So it accelerated in this direction.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah. So last one. I had a water bottle like this with a ping pong ball and a steel ball as well. I was holding it at rest like this, but I only accelerated one of them down. So out of these two, which one did I accelerate down vertically? The one on the left or the one on the right?
You said you accelerated downwards?
Yes, downwards. Vertically.
I'm going to say the right one.
Yeah, the one on the right, exactly. Because again, we get the buoyant object being pushed down in the direction of the force, and then the steel ball is being left behind. So the steel ball, again, it appears to go up, but it's because the bottle's moving down.
Got it.
Exactly.
Got it.
Right? So this one, on the other hand, if I was holding this, for example, at rest, and I just simply released it into free fall, do you believe gravity pulled it down to the earth?
Yes.
Like the whole, right? So the one on the left was actually that. I actually just released it into free fall, but we see that matter didn't react to any acceleration in free fall.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know if you knew, gravity is just a theory. So a physical downwards acceleration or a physical downwards force has never been measured or detected. So that's why gravity is just a theory. So there is no pressure in free fall. So because when you accelerate something like this, you create pressure in the water, and then that pressure.
Yeah, same thing with air movement. Yeah,
yes.
It creates negative
so,
pressure. Yeah.
So acceleration creates pressure, but here in free fall, there is no pressure. Zero pressure, actually. So that's why gravity is just a theory, and that's why they only have explanation. So what's happening there, right? So if we understand buoyancy, it always follows the direction of the real force.
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
Yes, if a helium balloon's here on Earth and I release it, what direction does it go? Where do you think it goes up?
Less dense than air.
So the air is pushing it up, right?
Yes.
So in this example, it was the truck that generated the force to push the air in this direction to be able to push the helium. What's generating the force here on Earth to be able to push up the air to be able to push up the helium?
Gravity.
It is gravity, but here's the thing: gravity is actually a push of the Earth, not a pull. So they tell us that
a
push, yes. So they're telling us gravity is pulling us down, but the reality is the Earth pushing up against you right now. So the reason why we're stuck to the Earth is because the Earth is constantly pushing up right now.
Oh, like normal force.
Yes, the normal force. That's what they call it. But that's the only force that actually exists that can be measured. So gravity as a force, the pulling force doesn't exist. So the reality is when you release an object into free fall, it's not the object that moves down to the ground, it's the ground that moves up to the object. So everything's moving up through space right now. So when something's not connected to the Earth, if the air's not dense enough to keep pushing it up like a helium balloon, then the air's just going to go through it. Mm-hmm. And then the Earth eventually is going to crash into the object. So the Earth is literally moving up, and that's what gravity is in reality.
Awesome.
Yeah. So here, let me ask you this, because this is the real reason why I'm doing this. So you believe the Earth is a ball, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So you understand that on a ball, up is relative. In other words, if you're standing here, up is in this direction, but if you're standing down here, up is in it's in every direction away from the center. That will be up on a ball. Mm-hmm. If we could prove physically, which buoyancy shows us that the ground is literally pushing up and not pulling us down, how can the Earth move up omnidirectional, in other words, in every direction at the same time if it was a ball? How can the Earth move up if it was a ball?
See, I don't know, because the way that I understand it is that, yeah, sure, I guess you could say that, like, the normal force still keeps us on the Earth in the sense of that, but, like, still, objects still have gravitational pull no matter what. So say, for example, if I'm going to hold, like, a ball, all right? the force that I'm exerting on the ball is equal to the force that the ball is exerting on me. That's why my atoms don't go through that ball. Same thing as how if we stand on the Earth, we put a force on the Earth. That's our mass. Mass times gravity.
Yes.
The force that's keeping me not sinking down through the Earth is the normal force. And the thing that I kind of understand is that like maybe it's not a push, because I guess you could see it like that. Yes, you could say that because they're equal and they're equal and opposite, then it's pushing.
What you're
up against
describing is more of a resistance.
resistance.
A resistance. So the ground is resisting you being pulled down through it. That's what you're saying, right? That would be the correct word, in my opinion, if you're putting it that way, not an upwards push.
It could be resistance, but it also could just be explained as equal and opposite.
Sure, but because if something is pushing, that's what I'm saying, if the normal force claims that it's an upwards push, if something is pushing something else, then that object has to be moving in that direction that the force is being applied. So like, for example, like if I push on this bottle, I have to physically be moving in that direction to be able to push it in that direction. So if the Earth is pushing up, the only way to push up is if the Earth is physically pushing up as well, like literally moving up.
Not necessarily, because in the same sense as like, oh, you're going to push this, the force you put on it is the same force that's putting back on you. So the force that gravity is putting on you is the same, the force that the Earth is putting on you is the same force that you're putting on the Earth. And I feel like that the way that you can explain gravity is rather than a push, like the Earth pushing against you, it's like gravity is just the idea of like big amount of mass has amount of gravitational pull.
Yeah.
So it's like there's pull no matter what, and that's what holds it all together.
Okay,
it's like you have gravitational pull too.
Right. So that's my thing. This whole idea of a gravitational pull, of mass attracting mass, and that creates a gravitational field of a flow of something that's pushing things down or pulling them down. That has never been detected or measured. So I would say that's all cartoon physics, in other words.
I wouldn't think so, simply because there's no way to like go around and explain like, oh, you know, how could it only be us? In the same sense that you could say that about other planets and other kind of stuff like that. Because a gravitational constant, it's still a gravitational constant. Like for us, it's 9.8, but say for example on Mars, there's different values because it has a different density.
Yeah. So, well, obviously when we're talking about the outer space and other planets, I would say that that's a completely irrelevant subject when it comes to the shape of the Earth, because I know you're just believing everything you're told about outer space and Mars and all that, but at the end of the day, nobody's actually been to outer space. So, and I'm gonna tell you how.
But we can see it.
We can see lights in the sky. I can show you what they look like.
Well, not lights. Yeah. Everything around you sees lights. But regardless.
So these are the stars when you zoom in with the optical zoom camera, and these are the planets. So not only should you not be able to bring them into view like this, into focus, because it's only 82 times zoom, and they're claiming these are like 23 trillion miles away. This will show that they're very, very, very close, and it will also show that they're not what we're being told. So the lights in the sky, they change color, and it looks like they're rippling in water. So nobody's actually been to them to physically prove what they actually are. So everything that they're making, any claim about...
Something to explain that could be that, you know, obviously light rays can be manipulated.
Yeah.
Light rays going through something, there's different types of reflections and stuff like that. I forgot indexes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like obviously you'll see them, they may look like rippling through water, but like go take enough photos, you'll understand that maybe those manipulations aren't the actual planets, it's just the planets going through maybe plasma in space or something like that, like gas.
Yeah.
And either way, like you say that it's irrelevant, but in the same sense, we're still in the same universe.
Sure, but
we're no different an example as them.
Yeah.
So if we see them and we see the patterns that they exhibit, the Earth exhibits the same exact patterns. The only difference is that the Earth is in the specific spot that allowed life to be formed, and now we're able to observe the world around us and see the trends that they follow the same as we are forced to follow. So it's not like the Earth is an exception. We can be like, oh, the Earth is not just the same example as all of them, because you could. There's no like kind of way to explain how the Earth can be the only sole example that we're supposed to be considering, whereas we can see other stuff around us happening. We can observe that. That's just the same constant. It's the same no matter where you go.
I'm gonna so everything about the telling us about outer space, I agree that that's what they say, right? If there was a way to debunk that they're actually going to outer space, would you be open to that?
If they were to debunk that?
No, if I could debunk that's physically impossible. So for example, if I want to have a vacuum here, if I want to create a vacuum right here, right, what do I need?
A vacuum?
If I want to create a vacuum,
remove the gas.
But what do I need before that? Like
a container.
Yes, a container, right? A solid cube, for example. I mean, it doesn't really matter. We'll just say a cube, right?
So long as it has like space inside.
You suck the air out of the container, right? Yeah. And not only that, the container has to be completely sealed. That's another thing.
Not allowing gas.
Exactly. So if we create a vacuum right here, right now, with a cube, a solid cube, right? We suck the air out, we seal it, bam. What happens? Obviously, I think you obviously know. If I make a hole on that container, what happens if I make a hole on that container that has a vacuum?
Well, different things can happen. It's like either the container is going to compress or the
If there's-
container is going to be filled with gas.
Yes. Well, obviously, if we don't put enough, if we don't suck enough air for it to be compressed, obviously the air is just gonna rush in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna have equilibrium because high pressure will move to the lower pressure unless there's a solid barrier separating the two. So that fundamental fact debunks outer space travel and everything about outer space because they're claiming outer space is a vacuum, a negative pressure system, for example. Not a perfect vacuum, but a near perfect vacuum, right? Next to the Earth's pressure system without a solid barrier separating the two. So this is where they have gravity fill in the gaps, which again, gravity as a pulling force, it's just a theory, but they use it to just explain away things that don't make sense. Like, why doesn't the air rush into space if there's no solid barrier separating the two?
The ozone layer.
But the ozone layer is gas, so gas itself
Yes.
requires a physical containment.
But it's ozone. It's not oxygen or nitrogen. It's ozone.
Right. But at the end of the day, that still requires a physical containment for it not to rush into space, into the vacuum.
That's why they call it the ozone layer. It's a barrier that separates the Earth's atmosphere from the pressure of space. And it's not like it's just like, a thin film.
But
it's like it's layers and it's.
But it's not a
contained.
solid barrier, right?
Yeah, but it's gas.
It's gas. So So you're saying gas can contain gas, and that gas doesn't need containment itself.
Have you ever had a colander? Like, you know how you can strain out pasta?
Yeah.
Yeah, like a colander.
Yeah.
There's ways that you can fill up a colander with all those tiny holes up with water. Why?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, obviously because the pasta's covering the holes.
No. Just water. Water inside of the colander. Why are there some examples where you can fill up a colander with water? Why?
You tell me.
Surface tension.
Surface tension. Okay, yeah.
Mhm.
So what does that have to do with having two opposing pressure systems without a solid barrier separating the
So
two?
why do like water droplets stay as circles?
Yeah, surface tension.
Surface tension.
Yeah, but what does it?
So the ozone layer carries, to my knowledge, because I heard this and I don't know exactly because I haven't really like paid the most attention when we were explaining fluids or stuff like that. But the way that I understand it is that the ozone layer maintains the fact that it's an ozone layer, a barrier that separates outer space with Earth by surface tension, or at least some kind of interaction between ozone that stops oxygen and other things from simply just floating out into space.
Right. So you believe
And the same way that, like, say for example, inside of a water droplet, the pressure inside of the water is higher than the pressure outside, like on the barrier of the water. Because say for example, the air around us is 1 atmospheric pressure, right?
Yeah.
The water on the outside of the water droplet, that's 1 atm.
Yeah,
but
sure.
But the water inside of the water droplet, that's higher.
Yeah, sure.
That's gravity. That's surface tension holding that water droplet together. That's the same way that the ozone layer could possibly hold all that gas. And it's not like it's a different example because, say, for example, it's water. There's still molecules and they still have interaction between molecules.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like it's something that's like far off from saying that like, oh, liquid and oxygen just are different. Like, no, there's still molecules interacting with each other. There's still molecule-molecule interactions.
Right. So again, this is all falls on the premise again that you're believing that we're being pulled down to the Earth, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So not only does matter show that there is no physical downwards acceleration, because acceleration, would you agree that acceleration requires a force? In order for something to accelerate, you need a force to accelerate that.
Yeah, because
Yeah. Would you accept then that acceleration or a force is going to create pressure? If you accelerate something, you're going to create pressure in order to accelerate it. Would you accept that as a fundamental property?
I thought it was velocity that creates the pressure.
You could say velocity too.
Sure.
No
Sure.
big deal,
Yeah.
right? The velocity, and especially if you increase the velocity every second, you increase the pressure as well, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
But the thing is too is that, like, say for example, to create that kind of pressure, you can't have constant velocity with zero acceleration. That kind of I just think that it's more fair to understand the idea that is consistent in the same sense that, like, you know, maybe one day your theory could be proven right, but like in order to tiptoe all around the laws of thermodynamics and all the laws of physics that we go around, you're going to need something stronger than just saying like, oh, just take a look at these pictures, take a look at this and that.
Yeah.
I'm not discouraging
No.
by any means, because by all means freedom of speech is the way that ideas are questioned and that things are developed. That's why I'm here. I'm learning.
Yeah.
But like, it's kind of harder to just use simple examples like this where there's no consistent like examples outside of
Okay, so let me just let me just go back a little bit just to take it step by step.
No worries.
So my thing is my first premise to debunking the pulling force of gravity is that if you have because this is considered an accelerometer. Why is it an accelerometer? Because if you have this container again with different states of matter, in this case it's a buoyant object, if it's at rest and you accelerate it in any direction, the ball is going to react relative to the direction of the applied force. It doesn't matter if you go up, down, left, right. It's because this is an acceleration detection device. However, this doesn't work in free fall. Even though they're claiming a 9.8 meters per second acceleration, which is fast, is 32 feet per second, which is it's pretty, imagine accelerating 32 feet in a second. And then they're claiming that that's happening in free fall without any effects of the acceleration, without any inertial effects or any buoyant effects, in other words. And that's what they're claiming happening in free fall, which defies physics. That kind of acceleration without any effects of acceleration doesn't exist.
No.
Could you recreate that kind of acceleration that happens in free fall in any other vector?
Yes.
Can you demonstrate it right now?
I can't demonstrate, but I know that you can recreate it, and here's why. Acceleration is not the same as velocity. 32 meters per second, that's different than 9.8 meters second squared.
Sure, yeah.
It's
32 meters per second squared. I'm just changing the 9.8 meters to 32
but still, because it's squared, it's exponential. So
yes, and it's acceleration.
As you fall for longer, you will reach 32 meters per second, but it's not like, I'm going to drop this, it's going to instantly go down to the Earth at 32 meters.
That's what they measured in a vacuum when they dropped the bowling ball and feather. It was supposedly that's what they measured in the first second.
Yeah, with no air resistance.
With no air resistance, exactly. Okay,
Yes.
I'll give you that. But at the end of the day, there's still an acceleration in free fall if you believe gravity pulls things down, right?
But that doesn't mean that all of a sudden it invalidates the laws of physics. It's like, it's 32 meters per second. No.
No,
in a vacuum, they'll fall at the same speed.
Sure.
But the thing is that no, it's not like I'm just going to drop something. It's instantly going to go that. It takes time. That's why it's second squared.
Yeah.
So it's not like that invalidates anything.
So,
it's still valid.
So besides the free-falling object not showing any effects of acceleration, for example, how can you recreate that kind of acceleration in any other vector? Because if I accelerate in any direction, this ball is always going to react. Always. There's no way.
How could you recreate
How
it?
can you accelerate without the reaction of the ball? That's what the kind of force they're claiming is happening in free fall. They're claiming.
Restate the question.
So, when like I was saying, this is an accelerometer, right? Why? Because it detects when I move it.
It reacts to motion.
It reacts to motion. Yes. It doesn't react to motion in free fall down.
But it does.
It doesn't.
No, but it does.
It doesn't. The ball.
If it didn't react to motion, then in free fall it would just stay.
No, it appears to go down because it's the Earth that's moving up. So it only appears to go down. It's an apparent motion.
So to say this again.
Yes.
That does react to like motion in free fall. Even though this doesn't move, it's still it's still reacting.
It reacts to the lack of force, if anything. Yeah.
It reacts to gravity because what pulls it down?
It's not being pulled down. That's the whole point. The Earth is pushing up.
But that's not that doesn't still explain the how it's not reacting. Because if it's not reacting, then it would still stay there. Even if the Earth was moving up to it, that means it's still reacting.
Well, the only thing that is reacting is due to inertia. So it's falling due to inertia.
Inertia due to what?
Well, I would say we're moving through a static field. It's not a field moving through us.
So this is pulling the Earth up? So this has gravity?
No, it has inertia.
Okay, so what is inertia? How do you define inertia?
I don't know exactly what inertia is.
That's the issue.
What is inertia? You tell me that.
Inertia is reaction to gravity. It's movement.
Yeah.
Everything has inertia no matter what.
Yeah, everything has inertia. I would say, because they're telling us the gravitational field is flowing through the Earth, right? That creates the push and then the resistance. The fact is, it's the Earth moving through a static medium. That's what's happening. So that static medium is what creates the pushback. That's what gives matter inertia.
So explain this to me then. Yeah. If every person on Earth jumps up at once, what would happen?
Nothing.
No.
The Earth
the Earth wouldn't move?
No. The Earth would just continue its motion up.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. See, the way that I find flaws inside of like that kind of way of thinking is that, say for example, every person does jump all at once, okay? And then the Earth keeps on moving through space, but the people at the other side of the Earth, they don't fall down. Because like you said, up is relative.
Yeah,
so how do they know up is relative even if like everyone else jumps but the Earth is still moving in one direction? How does that define how up is relative? How does that like explain how nothing's going to happen if everybody jumps at once and the Earth just keeps on moving but people still fall down?
You're saying if everybody jumps up, people will fall down? I kind of... Explain to me.
So you're saying that if I'm going to drop this, it's not this falling down, it's the Earth moving up.
Yes.
Say for example, everyone jumps. Obviously, they're going to have to go back to the Earth. But if the Earth is still moving in one direction, how would that explain the lack of gravity?
Oh, so that's because the Earth is not a ball. The Earth is a level plane, and we're all standing on it, and it's only moving through one direction. So that's why everybody's up is the same. So up is not relative; it's singular.
Okay, I see.
So everybody's direction is up.
Okay, I see that.
Yeah. So here, before you go, because just real quick, this is the biggest one. Well, besides the push of the Earth, you know the radius of the Earth?
Yeah, they can calculate it.
Yeah, so 3,959 miles is the alleged radius of the Earth. You can look it up. Yeah. So there, based on the radius of the Earth, there has to be curvature every mile, and every mile it has to increase. So using a simple Pythagorean theorem, for example, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, we can calculate for how much curvature there should be every mile. And it turns out that there should be 8 inches per mile squared. So in the first mile, there should be an 8-inch drop of curve. Second mile, 32 inches. And by the third mile, there should be 6 feet of curvature. And you can look this up, on Google.
That's right.
You can look it up, Google it. How much curvature should it be in 3 miles? It should be 6 feet.
Okay.
So how do we measure for that curvature, right? There's a very easy way. So if we went out to a giant lake that was miles across and we build a level structure over the body of water, once the lake is contained and at rest, the surface is going to be parallel to anything horizontal above it, because the physics of water will show that once it's contained and at rest, the surface always forms an equal surface because it doesn't have the ability to...
See, that's hard because of tides, because the water...
No, we're talking about a lake.
Water.
We're talking about the lake. A lake.
Still, lakes experience tides.
Not all of them. Not all of them.
The moon pulls on water.
Yeah, but not all the lakes are affected by tides, for example. So if we went to a lake that wasn't affected by tides, for example.
Okay, that's a very unique example.
Sure, there's a lot of lakes. Only the Great Lakes are affected very slightly by the tides.
Okay.
So yeah, point being is they're trying to tell us that every lake on Earth is bending 6 feet in 3 miles and 66 feet in 10 miles. So if it was a lake that was 10 miles across, they're trying to tell you that the end of that lake is 66 feet below you than from the starting point.
Okay.
That the surface of, but that's physically impossible because water doesn't have the physical ability to maintain shapes on the surface.
I definitely think that you should recheck that, because in any sense that doesn't really match.
What do you mean?
That doesn't really match the calculation of circumference, because I also looked at right here.
Yes.
You're using Pythagorean theorem. You're
Yes.
using a triangle. Earth isn't a triangle. You can't use that.
No, but I'm using to measure this gap right here.
See. Okay, then that means you would have
If
to
you
use
want
you'd have to use a different value.
Yeah,
than
here. This is the
Pythagorean theorem.
exact curve calculator done in a computer program, the exact curvature. And these are the numbers. So these are the exact measurements of the Earth curve. These are 90, I would say, in the first 300 miles, it's 99% accurate.
Okay.
Yeah. So my point is that the 6 feet in 3 miles and 66 feet in 10 miles is all we need, and they have to admit to that being the curvature, because that's based on the radius they're giving us. So
And does everyone agree on that
yes,
value?
yes,
Even
even globe earthers.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, you could Google it right now when you leave. How much curvature should there be in 3 miles? It's 6 feet, and in 10 miles it's 66 feet, and that's like a 6-story building. That's probably as tall as this tower here. Imagine that much curvature in 10 miles. That has never been physically measured.
Here, now I have a question for you
Yes,
before I have to
yes.
go to my class.
Yes.
What does this change for you?
Well, first of all, I used to be atheist, so I just believed everything I was told, like about evolution and all that. So coming to this realization, not only did I gain my critical thinking skills back, and I don't just believe things blindly anymore. I make sure I can prove things to myself, but I actually accept that this place was created. It's a creation, 100%. Now, I don't buy into any religion at all, because in my opinion, all religions are there to just control people. So nobody knows what God actually is and what created this place. I would say the heliocentric model, the ball earth belief, is the biggest religion on earth, because it's based on faith, just like any other religion. So every religion tries to tell you what this place actually is and how it came to be. And the globe earth is no different. They're trying to tell you what this place actually is and how it came to be through evolution and the Big Bang. So that's just a religion story. Nobody knows. That's the fact, how this place came to be. But the first law of thermodynamics, energy cannot be created nor destroyed.
Oh yeah, that's the first one.
Yeah, that proves that this place came from something, because something can't come from nothing. So this place 100% was created.
Well,
It's a creation.
I have to unfortunately go, my friend. What's your name?
My name is William.
William?
Yes, William.
Nice to meet you.
Appreciate you.
My name is Brian.
I go to USC, UCLA. You can check out my conversations.
So I do study theology.
Okay.
I am a microbiology major.
Okay.
And I do feel like that you cannot have, I guess, STEM majors
Okay.
without theology, because theology is the father of all sciences. In order to study the world around us, you have to study who created the world around you.
Okay.
And that's just my opinion.
Okay. Fair enough. I'm
be
glad you're
honest,
saying your opinion.
To be honest, everyone
Yeah.
here speaks their opinions, and that's
Yeah.
something that
No,
everyone
yeah.
is free to do. And I love that so
Yeah.
much. I enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah.
But I do feel like that in order for you to even believe the theories that you have to have faith. And I
Right.
do feel like that sometimes it is easy to get caught up in things that may not be the ultimate goal of, the ultimate goal that leads you to find the best version of yourself.
Fair enough.
And I'm only saying that because I have the best intentions, my friend. I'm not trying to
No.
insult or anything by all means. I can disagree with you. It
No,
doesn't
yeah.
mean that I have any kind of hatred.
No,
That's
yeah,
the one
trust
thing
me,
that people
trust
have
me.
a lot of
No, yeah.
misinterpretation of. It's like
Yeah.
I can disagree with you, but all of a sudden I have to hate you. No, that's
No,
not how
no,
that works.
no.
But I do feel like, my friend, that. See, I'm not trying to go into this because there's so much that I can say, but I do have to go.
Okay,
But-
before you go, I guess, real quick, just one last question for me. Do you think it's possible that we have been lied to about the nature of the Earth, or are you 100% convinced that it is a lie?
I do 100% believe that it's a ball, and I do not think that like everything that we hear is a truth. But I do feel like you have the right to
So
search
you don't
for yourself.
So you don't
but
accept everything is what you're saying that you're told.
No. There's a majority of things that I do accept, such as for the theory of evolution, because it's not invalidated by the Bible.
Okay.
The Bible says the earth was created in 6 days. Later, and then it says one day for God is like thousands of years for us. So it's not like you could go, like God could have created the Old Testament and then all of a sudden been saying like, no, first we actually started from single cell life, but you guys don't have to understand that.
Yeah.
You guys are still outside of the wild. You guys got to go find the Holy Land. It's
Yeah.
like, that wouldn't really work.
No, yeah.
So there's a lot of things that are explained, and there are a lot of things that aren't explained. And I feel like that the secret to finding the best version of yourself and finding happiness is to accept what you can accept and then learn what you can learn, because you aren't made to understand everything. That's not what a human being is.
Right. Fair enough. No, yeah, we can learn everything, that's for
No,
sure.
by
Yeah,
all
I
means.
accept that. Yeah.
And there's some things that maybe you can just leave as a question. There are some things that you can find as an answer.
Right.
It's not like everything is meant to be answered.
I think I 100% agree with you, but I think you kind of have it backwards there, because you're saying that you need to believe in something in order to accept, you know, what's real first, I guess, right? That's what you said. That you
I'm
have
just saying, in my mind,
Yeah.
the way that I see it, and the things that I study, and the ways that I have read and learned myself.
Yeah.
I feel like there are things that you can believe in that will lead you to a better version of yourself,
Okay.
and there are things you have to find for yourself. So it's like maybe there isn't an answer that's written somewhere,
Right.
but you just have to understand that maybe that's just the way it is.
Right. I guess when it comes to physics or natural science, in other words, things that we can play with in 3 dimensions, things that we can manipulate, right? I don't tend to have beliefs about things about that anymore. In other words, when it comes to natural science, it's either I know or I don't know. I don't place blind faith anymore when it comes to science.
Really?
Yes, I don't. So again, I can build theories off of the practical. So let's say I'm building something and understanding how matter behaves, for example, building a computer, right? Then I can extend that knowledge to, okay, maybe if this happened, I can theorize based on practical examples to better technologies, right? I can theorize there. But if I'm making theories about assumptions that are backed by nothing practical, then that's where I lose the plot. That's where it's not science anymore. That's where it's pseudoscience. Because if your explanations and theories are not backed by practical references, then it's bullshit. You know, but I'm all about, you know, advancing theories and making technologies better, but they all have to be rooted in the practical, in what reality shows. In other words,
You know, there's a lot inside of the world
Yeah.
that you won't find in practicality.
well, I would say that's subjective. That's
See,
like
exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. That's my opinion.
This subject, in my opinion, is objective. The Earth being a sphere or not, it's an objective question because it's physical.
Do you have a family?
Yes,
You do?
yes,
When you go home to your family
sure,
and say all of this turns out to be true,
yes.
what will you do next?
What I'm doing now, trying to spread it as much as I
No,
can.
but it comes out as true. Everyone now believes it. What are you going to do then?
Oh, well, then that's where we have a bunch of different minds coming together to build communities that benefit everyone, opposed to having a hierarchical structure that we live right now, where we just follow orders and we're all being taken advantage of. So it's about creating a better life after that. I would say exploration, though. Exploration first of the Earth. Fully explore the
Yeah,
Earth,
dude,
and then we can do that.
There's GPS. They're never going to be done exploring the Earth. But like, I'll pray for you, man.
All right,
You have a good
appreciate
day.
it, man. You
Thank
too,
for the
man.
conversation.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Thank you. God damn it. That was a cool conversation. What's up, man? So I want to see if people trust their common sense. Do you trust your common sense?
I don't know.
You should, man. So, 2 questions. This is the first one to see if you trust your common sense. So, I have 3 box trucks and they're completely sealed, right? The doors are closed, everything's sealed, right? And I have a bowling ball hanging from a rope inside, right? One of these box trucks is at rest, one is accelerating forward, and one is accelerating in reverse. So, out of these 3, which one is at rest?
If this is at rest.
Yes. Yeah. Why would
Yeah.
you say that one?
What?
Why would you say this one's at rest?
I know a bit of physics,
Yeah.
but for this state to be there, it should either be in a constant velocity or at rest.
Okay, yeah, you got it. You got it.
Yeah.
Perfect. Out of these 2, which one is accelerating forward?
Well, I think this one.
Yes, you got it. Why do you say that one?
I think this is catching up a bit late, so
Okay. So it's because of inertia.
inertia. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's right.
So this is being left behind.
Yeah, left
and then the
behind.
whole truck's moving forward, and then the string eventually pulls the ball, which is attached to the truck. Right. It's pretty easy. So this next one is pretty similar, but instead of a bowling ball, is a helium balloon. So out of these three, which one is at rest?
I guess this one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. For the same reason as the first one, obviously.
Yeah.
Which one's accelerating forward?
Yeah, this one.
Yes, you got it. How did you know that's that one?
Because this is catching up a bit late. Like I said, inertia. Yeah. It's gonna. So this is moving forward, and you know,
It's
it's
actually
staying there. Yeah.
it's actually not due to inertia.
Okay.
It's due to buoyancy.
Buoyancy.
You know what buoyancy is? So if something floats on water,
Yeah.
right? So that's buoyancy. So this is buoyant because the air around it is more dense, right? So if you accelerate in this
Yeah,
direction,
helium. Okay.
the air inside is also moving through space in that direction because air is more dense than helium. It's
Okay.
able to push the helium balloon in that
Okay.
direction.
Yeah, got it.
So it's due to buoyancy.
Okay.
Yeah.
This was wrong.
Yeah. So this is a buoyant object. This is a ball that's floating in water. So if I accelerate in this direction, what direction do you think the ball is gonna go?
Yeah.
If I go this way,
We go this way.
no, the ball follows the direction of the force.
Uh-huh.
Look. So the ball goes this way if I accelerate. If I accelerate that way, then the ball goes that way. So again, because it's less dense than the medium that surrounds it. Yeah. So here, let me just show you these real quick. Just to see if
Are
you...
you from? Are you undergrad or?
No, I'm just here visiting.
Okay.
So if the helium balloon will always get pushed in the direction of force, what direction would you say I accelerated here? To the right or to the left? So there's an apple hanging with the string and then a helium balloon.
I think it's going that way.
Yeah, that way. You got it. Perfect. I did one in a smaller scale,
Okay.
filled with water. A steel ball and a ping pong ball. So the steel ball is obviously more dense than the water, but the ping pong ball is less dense. So what direction did I accelerate? To the right or to the left?
Yeah, to the right.
To the right, yeah. Exactly. Pretty easy.
But, yeah.
So
What do you work for? Like.
I'm just testing people's common sense.
Okay.
So here's the thing. I did one last one. I'll get through this one kind of quick. I had a container filled with water, and I was holding it like this, but I only accelerated one down vertically like that. Which one did I accelerate from these two? The one on the left or the one on the right? Which one shows the reaction? Which one reacts to a force?
I think this is one going down, I guess, because you already have gravity at the down.
So what do you think is happening here?
Not sure what's up. Maybe you're reversing it.
No, I actually just accelerated down like that.
Is it?
Yes, and that's why.
So this goes up.
Yes, the steel ball doesn't go up. It's the bottle that moves down, and the steel ball, due to inertia, it gets left behind. So the bottle is what's moving down, and the steel ball appears to go up. But
Okay, this is the free fall, is it?
this is free fall.
Okay.
Yes. So
Yeah,
here's
that
the,
makes sense.
yes. In free fall, there is no reaction to that acceleration in free fall because there is no acceleration in free fall. I don't know if you knew gravity is just a
Yeah.
theory.
Yeah.
So a downwards force has never been detected or measured because
Yeah.
matter doesn't react to acceleration. in
Yeah, they
free fall.
say that it's space and time
Yes.
as curved.
Yes, yes, exactly. That's just a theory, though.
Yeah.
That has never been proven. Did you know that that downwards force has never been proven? So they came up with that theory. So
Yeah.
what's happening then?
But
What do you think is happening then? If I release an object, if it doesn't accelerate down, what's happening?
I do believe that, because it was gravity was something Newton who introduced it.
Yeah.
I don't easily I do believe in Newton because I think he's greater than Einstein too.
So the fact,
Because
yeah,
but I do believe that I don't know what exactly to call it, but his system, right? F is equal to G m1 m2 by r square. That as a force, gravity as a force. I do think it's pretty much applicable for our world, our planet.
okay.
I do believe it's a force. You
Okay.
can use it as a force. I don't
Sure.
know.
Okay. They use it
But-
as a force to explain what we
Yeah,
see,
yeah,
but
yeah.
the
The
physical.
rockets and everything
Yeah.
have been working
Yeah.
with that.
So the fact
Escape
is,
velocity.
So the force of the Earth, the only difference is they're
Mhm.
telling us that it's a pull of the Earth
Mm.
that we're being pulled down. The fact is actually pushing up. So the
Pushing.
Earth is pushing. The force of the Earth is a push, not a pull. So when I release this object, it doesn't accelerate down to the Earth. It's the Earth that's coming up to meet it. So that's why there is no physical downwards force in free fall, because it's the pushing force of the Earth. So we're all inside the Earth, obviously, and the Earth is literally just pushing up. That's the reality. That's what physics shows, in other words. And that's why helium balloons go up, because the air is more dense and is able to push a helium balloon up, but then the air itself also is moving up through space.
Yeah.
And that's what moves the
And
helium.
like, what do you do? Like,
So the real reason why I do this is because you believe the Earth is a ball, right?
uh-huh.
You believe the Earth is a ball, right? If we could prove that it's the ground moving up, because buoyancy shows us that, right? And up is relative on a ball. If you're standing here, up is this way. If you're standing down here, up is this. If the ground is literally moving up, how can the Earth move up in every direction at the same time if it was a ball?
So you're from flat Earth.
Not flat Earth, but the Earth is level. It's not flat or a ball. So it's level because it's moving up, and levels in orientation relative to that vertical motion. So the vertical motion of the Earth is what gravity is. It's not a pull, it's a push.
Awesome work.
Yeah, so that's the number one proof that debunks the globe.
Yeah.
It's gravity is a push, not a pull.
I did all this as a high schooler, man. I don't remember any of that.
No, yeah, it's very elementary, and that's why they tell us about the bald Earth when we're very young, so that we just accept it, because physics shows that that's physically impossible. You know.
Right.
So, all right, man. Appreciate the time. Take care. Yeah, let me check the comments real quick. Yeah, not this conversation, that I just, the one before that. I don't even remember if that was the first conversation, actually. Was it the first conversation I had? Oh no, I think I had one before that. Point being is the guy was understanding it at first, everything. He was even like tripping out because he obviously takes physics. He was tripping out on a buoyant object, how it gets pushed forward by the medium that surrounds it in relative to the direction of the force, right? And when it came to about the shape of the Earth, when it got to the topic, it's like he completely did a 180 at that point. Like, now he wasn't so open to what's being shown anymore. Now he was like, he put a wall up, and he was just kind of like trying to defend his belief. That's why I asked him at the end, like, are you 100% convinced it's a ball, or are you open to maybe we have been lied to, right? I already knew he was going to say 100% it was a ball, but kind of just wanted to, you know, just to make sure, I guess, right? I could be wrong, right? But yeah, he was 100% convinced that it was a ball. So obviously he's not open-minded, you know. And again, it just shows how, like, people that get into like physics, right, and stuff like that, for example, even if you become a mathematician, it's like you have something to defend now, right? Because you're studying to be an expert, right, in these fields, right? Which, again, the shape of the Earth kind of like lies in there, especially with physics. So you kind of feel a need to defend that belief now, you know. So you throw common sense out of the window, and then you just go with what you've been taught, right? And that's exactly what basically what I experienced, you know. Again, nothing personal, obviously, you know. We all have, you know, our different paths, you know, of coming to this, but based on my experience of my own personal experience, obviously, what I went through and what I see others go through, is that's what happened. It's like, because he's obviously taking like physics classes and stuff like that. He has to he feels the need to defend the globe Earth belief, you know, whether it's for that reason or just personal reasons, you know. At the end of the day, you know, that's what happened, you know. So yeah, it was interesting nonetheless. I'm not gonna lie, at one point when he was just talking a lot about like just stories, right, about gravity, I don't even know exactly what he was saying, like like they're just trying to drown you with a bunch of words, you know, that they don't even comprehend. That's the crazy part, you know. It's like they're repeating what they were told, they're giving an explanation about what they're saying, and they just repeat all of that, and it's like they don't, if you don't even understand what you're saying, then at that point you're just trying to kind of confuse the other person, you know, in my opinion. You know, that's why a lot of people would just repeat a bunch of mantras, you know, or a bunch of information without actually understanding it for themselves, you know. But at the end of the day, it's kind of like just to drown you with a bunch of words, to kind of just word salad you to the point where you can't even respond, because it was just a bunch of words mushed together that don't really make any sense, any cohesive sense. So it's kind of hard for you to reply to that. You know what I'm saying? So if you don't reply to that now you're gonna look like you don't understand what you're talking about. So now I get a point, you know, because you couldn't respond to my gibberish, you know, my word salad, you know. So it becomes like a battle at that point. It's not even about science anymore. It's not about exploration anymore. It's not even about understanding anymore. It's about winning. That's what it comes down to, and that's why this whole arena of debate when it comes to the shape of the earth is bullshit, because we're talking about natural science. It's about what we can discover and show to our, you know, show ourselves and show our peers, like, look, this is what happens when this happens, and you know, and this happens 100% of the time, and we can test it and you can repeat it and we can, you know, build from that, right? That's real science. That's real natural science, you know. So anyone that sways from that, you know, now you're going into the realms of baseless theories now, you know. So that's, you know, that's one thing I've learned, is that people just try to again, they're just trying to win at that point. It's not even about bettering our understanding anymore, right? Because let's be honest, right? Natural science, physics, you know, it's all about understanding the world we live in, right? By, you know, cause and effect, understanding cause and effect, right? Here on Earth, it's the basis of what science is. You know, if something is real, then it has to be able to be put through the scientific method. You know, measurable, testable, repeatable, right? So at the end of the day, again, that should be the basis of our understanding. It's what we can prove to ourselves, you know. And again, it's about increasing our understanding about the natural world and how it works. That's what science is about, right? Now science got turned into a religion, pretty much. I mean, that's what it's become. Mainstream science is just a religion now. You know, it's not something that we can prove to ourselves. It's not something that we can understand for ourselves anymore. You know, it's basically been privatized, right? And only experts have a right to talk about these subjects now, right? So again, they're just creating little cults, you know, little religion cults claiming that they're about science, right? And they're just bullshit. And people buy into these, you know, little cults, and yeah, and then now we have this huge ass cult of the globe Earth, you know. And now we have other cults forming, like the flat Earth cult, the motionless flat Earth, you know. Now we got other cults, you know, forming to battle against the globe Earth cult. You know, now they're battling their idea versus the globe Earth idea, you know. When physical reality shows that they're both wrong. You know, it's pretty funny, but sad at the same time. Fuck. Do you guys ever do you guys remember growing up having a friend that was like always lying, right? And then or not even a friend, just someone, you know, it could be a family member, just, you know, just everybody usually, but most of everybody would know someone growing up that was known just to be a liar, right? Not only that, especially when you know they were lying, right? And you just start questioning them to try and catch them on the lie, right? But then you start seeing the mental gymnastics that they do to try and defend the lie, right? Like, wait a minute, how were you at this place when I seen that you posted that you were at this place, right? And then there's like explanations, oh, it's because blah 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 blah, but you already know they're lying, obviously, right? You're just questioning them to see how far they're willing to take it, right? And then obviously, you know, they'll go, you know, as far as they can, you know, to try and, you know, warp your perception, right? And then the mental gymnastics and hoops that they do to try and convince you, you know, it's pretty funny, especially once you know that they're lying. So it's kind of like the same feeling that I'm getting now with the globe Earth, especially when people try to justify it and try to prove it, right? It's like you already know they're lying. In this case, they're not lying. That's the only difference, is that they're believing the lie. You know, that's the only difference when it comes to the shape of the Earth. But it's the exact same psychology, I guess. Mentality is the exact same mentality in a way, without actively lying. But it's pretty crazy because it's the same behavior, but without a will to lie. But yet you're still doing all the exact same tactics as a liar would use. You know, so it's like almost like we're trained to lie like this, right? And it just comes back to like people have to defend this belief, you know, so much to the point where they actually defend it as like if it's the truth for them, you know. And in reality, obviously, you know, they're just defending an idea. But it's almost like the exact same mental gymnastics as the friend that you know is lying, to try and make you believe, to try and convince you. You know, it's almost the exact same tactics, which is kind of scary if you ask me. You know, that people are doing that unwillingly in a way. You know, lying like that unwillingly. You know, that just shows, you know, how deep the brainwash is. You know, in my opinion, it's pretty bizarre. Pretty bizarre. Here's another thing, when people say, oh, it's air is more dense than helium, right? So it pushes it up. So it pushes it from below up, right? That's what they say, because it's more dense, right? But here's the thing, if you have a balloon right here, there's more air above than below. So shouldn't the air above push the helium down because there's more air above? Especially if the air is being pulled down by gravity, right? So shouldn't the air above push the helium down, right? Like, it's just like stuff like that. Like, you know, it's fucking crazy that you have to, you know, you just have to throw your common sense away to accept the globe when it comes to all the explanations. Like, they're crazy. Del, buoyancy follows the direction of the force. Upwards, globe Earth. Buoyancy opposes the direction of the force. Exactly. It's literally that simple. Literally that simple. Yeah, that's funny. Like in Blackbird. Buoyancy doesn't follow anything. It's a measurement of density of mediums. Buoyancy doesn't follow anything? What about this? When I accelerate this, why does it follow the direction of the force? Why does the buoyant object follow the direction of the force if buoyancy doesn't follow anything? Buoyant objects don't follow the direction of the force? What? Show me a buoyant object not following the direction of the force, or better yet, going in the opposite direction of the force. How about that? How about you show an object going the opposite direction of the force? A buoyant object. That would be interesting to see. Andrew, it's beyond cringe at this point. Beyond cringe. That could be a good a YouTube name right there too. Beyond cringe. What's that, man? So I have two multiple choice questions to see if people trust their common sense. So would you guys say you trust your common sense?
You. No, I said you. He's doing it. I'm not doing it.
You guys can do it together too.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah.
It's like one of those Charlie Kirk things.
Nah. It's pretty easy actually. It's pretty easy. I'm not trying to trick anyone actually. It's pretty easy. So I have 3 box trucks here, and they're completely sealed. You know, in other words, and I have a bowling ball hanging from a rope inside. So one box truck is at rest, one is accelerating forward, and one is accelerating in reverse. So out of these 3, which one is at rest?
The B. I think B.
B. Yes, it is B. Why would you say B?
Well, because I know when a car goes forward, you go back.
Things move. Yeah.
So
Okay.
I know A is, and then C is obviously vice versa.
Okay,
So B is
perfect. So
longer.
accelerating forward, which one would you say is accelerating forward?
A.
Okay, why would you say A again?
Because like when you go forward, you're being pushed back.
Yes.
I think G-force.
Is due to inertia.
Okay.
Yeah, due to inertia, it gets left behind, and then the G-force is the truck pushing in this
Yeah.
direction. So due to inertia, it pushes back.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right, you got it. That's the first one. The second
got
one, second one's pretty similar, but instead of a bowling ball, is a helium balloon. So in this scenario, which one is at rest?
B. No,
B?
he got
Okay.
that now.
Okay, B. Okay, which one's accelerating forward?
Look at it. You do that.
You're scaring me, man.
No, I'm not. I'm not.
Hey.
Hey, which one would you say is accelerating forward?
Well, it's helium. So, I mean, I've never seen a balloon with
Okay,
helium
fair
like
enough,
that.
fair enough.
So I would say A.
A, okay. It's actually C in this scenario, yeah. So the reason why it's C is because air is more dense than helium, obviously. So when you accelerate the truck in this direction, all of the air inside of the box truck is also moving in that direction through space, is also being pushed through.
Yeah.
So because air is more dense than helium, is able to push it in the same direction the air is moving. You know, so that's why we get this effect. You know, and I can show that here with this object. So here's a buoyant object. You know, the ball is less dense than the water. If I accelerate in this direction, what direction do you think the ball's gonna go?
Going what? Oh, forward.
Forward, yeah. It goes forward. Yeah, because the water's more dense, it's able to push it in that same direction the water's moving.
Yeah.
In the same direction as the pressure's being applied. Exactly. So here, let me show you. So I did this experiment in a cargo van, and I want to see if you guys can tell what direction I accelerated. Instead of a bowling ball, I used an apple. That's the only difference. An apple hanging from a string, and a helium balloon tied to a string as well. But what direction would you say I accelerated this? To the right or to the left?
Right.
Yes, exactly. Because again, not only does matter show you when I apply the force, it shows you the direction of the force.
Yeah.
Exactly, because buoyancy always follows the direction of the force. Let me show you this one. I did it in a smaller scale, so a water container similar to this, but with a steel ball and a ping pong ball. So obviously the ping pong ball is the buoyant object. What direction would you say I accelerated? To the right or
reverse?
To the left?
Yeah.
Exactly, yes, because that's the direction the pressure was applied. Okay, perfect, you guys got it. So last one, I did a vertical acceleration. So I was holding a water bottle like this with a ping pong ball and a steel ball, but I only accelerated one down like that.
Okay.
So which of these two would you say I accelerated down vertically? The one on the left or the one on the right?
I think the one on the right, because
Yes.
the ball's going up.
Yes. So the ball only appears to go up, but that's because the container is moving down.
Yeah.
And because the water's not dense enough to push the ball and keep it down, the ball only appears, it's being left behind,
Yeah.
in other words, due to inertia. And then the ping pong ball is being pushed down due to the force, the buoyant force.
Yes.
down.
And then the left is idle, right?
So the left, I actually just, if I have it like this, for example, and I released it into free fall, do you believe gravity pulled it down?
Yeah.
Yes? So the one on the left was actually free fall.
Oh.
So we see that matter didn't react to the acceleration down. I don't know if you guys knew, gravity is just a theory. So a physical downwards acceleration of matter or a force has never been detected in free fall. That's why gravity is just a theory. So what's happening there then, right? So if we understand buoyancy always follows the direction of the force, right? If I have a helium balloon here on Earth and I release it, what direction does it go?
It goes up.
Why do you think it goes up?
Because the air is dense, like.
The air is more dense, the helium, so it's able to push it up. Exactly. So in this scenario, it was the truck that generated the force to push the air forward, which then pushed the helium forward. Here on Earth, what's generating the force to push the air up to be able to push a helium up?
Nothing.
Well, in order for air to be able to push the helium balloon in any direction, the air also has to have pressure and moving in that direction as well to be able to push a helium balloon, for example. So if the helium balloon is going up because the air is pushing it up, which it is, that means the air is moving up. So what's moving the air up, I guess, would be the question.
You say gravity, but
Yeah, it is gravity. But here's the thing. They're telling us gravity is a pulling force, but in reality, gravity is a pushing force. So the ground right now is pushing up against you. It's not pulling you down. And that push upwards is what's compressing the air and pushing it up, which is able to push helium balloons up.
really?
Yeah.
Oh.
So again, gravity is a push of the Earth, not a pull. So that's what physics shows, you know. So I know you guys believe the Earth is a ball, right? Or do you believe the Earth is a ball? Yeah. So do you guys understand that on a ball, up is relative? So if you're standing here, up is this way. If you're standing down here, up is this way. In every direction away from the center, it will be up. If we could prove physically that the ground is literally pushing up and not pulling us down, and buoyancy shows us that, how can the Earth move up simultaneously in every direction if it was a ball?
I'm not sure.
It actually wouldn't work. That would mean the Earth will have to expand to be able to push up in every direction away from the center. It will have to expand, it will just explode. So in order for people to believe in the ball Earth theory, they first have to believe in the theory of gravity being a pulling force. Because if we could prove that it's the other way around, it's actually pushing up, then the whole globe Earth concept falls apart. So that would be the number one proof to debunk the ball Earth, that gravity is a push of the Earth, not a pull. So when I release an object into free fall, any object, it looks like the object goes down, but that's because everything is going up. So we're moving up right now. So because the Earth is constantly pushing up. So when something's not connected to the Earth, it's the ground that comes up to meet it. This never actually physically moves down. And that's why there is no physical downward acceleration that can be measured. Because objects don't accelerate down. It's the Earth that comes up. So that's the reality. No, yeah, that's the reality.
Hey, and do you come here to UCR or you just...
I come here a lot. I go to UCLA, USC, and UC Irvine.
So you don't...
I'm not a student here. I just come to the universities to challenge what they're teaching us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, natural science shows that what they're teaching us is bullshit when it comes to the shape of the Earth. Because obviously they do teach other stuff like engineering, computer science, all of that, that's fine. But when it comes to the shape of the Earth, what they're teaching us about outer space, astrophysicists, for example, all of that, it's all bullshit. it's all made up.
Okay.
So just real quick, the Earth is actually a level plane, and it's moving up in one direction only. So everybody's up is the same. So now I know they're trying to say that, oh, your up is different from people in China and Australia, you know? That's bullshit. Everybody's on the same playing field, in other words. And everybody's up is the same because that's the direction the Earth is moving. And that's what gives us orientation of up and down. This is the force of the Earth, but it's actually a push, you know?
So I didn't know this, but we gotta go.
Yeah, no worries, man. I appreciate the chat.
It was nice meeting you.
Yeah,
Your
here.
sign attracted us.
Yeah. Here's my channel. You can check it out, and you can check out my conversations at other universities as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Appreciate the
Thank
chat.
you.
All right, thank you. You have a good one. I'll see if I could get one more. It's crazy. Like, I'm starting to see, like, kind of like the light bulb wanting to turn on when I talk about the Earth's force not being a pull and actually being a push. It's like a light bulb comes up, you know, in their head, because you can kind of see it in their face, you know, like the reaction, you know. Not everybody, obviously, but I'm noticing it, you know, here and there, and some people do actually get it, like, oh, it makes sense that there is no pulling force because it's a push. Like, it's just the other way around, you know, like it fits perfect, in other words, you know. Not only does physics show it, but it fits perfect because it's a reality. You know, that's why it fits. But yeah, it's kind of cool to see that like little light bulb moment, you know. And hopefully it's enough to get people curious, you know, to look into it further, you know, because at least understanding the number one proof, again, being that the Earth's force is a push, not a pull, it's a good gateway to this subject, because not only are you debunking the number one proof of the globe, in other words, but again, now when you look into like water bending, for example, right? Like, how can the Earth bend around a ball? Oh, gravity. But you're gonna start to see that gravity is used, this theory of gravity is being used to explain away everything that doesn't make sense. Again, like water bending around a ball, and how atmosphere doesn't rush into space without a solid container, you know, gravity. How airplanes can fly level over a curve, you know, because of gravity. Auto-correcting, you know, it's just, again, it's, in my opinion, it is the best way to introduce this subject to somebody new, is introducing it while at the same time debunking gravity, you know. It's like, I guess I would say it's the best introduction to this subject, you know. Simple, practical, you know, demonstrable, repeatable facts, you know, that contradict the globe Earth. It's literally that simple, you know. Yeah, well, you know how when I have when I show the helium balloon, for example, right, like this, right, and then it's accelerating forward like this, and the helium balloon. Now, if we just invert it like this, see, that's what's happening here. The helium balloon is rising because the air is also rising because the container is rising. That would be the truck in this. If we switch it in this direction, we'll still get the same effects, you know. But again, it's just going to be going in this direction now. So the air the truck pushing the air in that direction, the air pushing the helium in that direction. So again, that's exactly what we're experiencing here on Earth. Is the air pressure is acting in that direction, which is pushing the helium in that direction, which means the Earth, the container itself, you know, the reference frame itself, it's moving in that direction as well. You know, again, air cannot go through matter. You know, if you have a wall, the air cannot go through the wall. That's a fact. The wall is going to stop the air from going through, if you know. So if the wall is pushing against the air, if you have a wall pushing up against the air, well, the air is not going to be able to go anywhere but forward. It's going to get pushed in the same direction the wall is pushing, because air cannot go through the wall. It cannot just stay there in space and the wall passes through it like that. Like, if this is air, the wall cannot just pass through the air and the air stays motionless. Like, no. When the wall comes in contact with air, it starts pushing the air in that direction as well. Again, air cannot go through walls. Matter cannot go through walls. You know, and that's a fact. So again, the air is showing that it's being pushed up. So. All right, hopefully I could get one more. And I'll go ahead and call it. Demonstrable reality. Eric Dubay came out and the first thing he did was attack Rising Earth. I know that's one of the things, in my opinion, that obviously should raise a huge red flag is the fact that he attacked this subject, you know. And I say attack because he misrepresented the position, you know. He misrepresented the upwards the upwards motion of the Earth position, and then he word salad a lot of explanations to the density and buoyancy claim. No different than the globe Earth, you know. They start using equations, you know, to try and prove their point, you know. But physics, you know, contradicts that, you know, how matter behaves, you know, at the end of the day. So all of these explanations and the misrepresenting is indicative. It's just like no different than the globe Earth claims, than a globe Earther, in other words. So it's like using the exact same tactics that the globe Earth uses, you know, with misrepresenting and misinforming, I guess, in other words. And yeah, that's all that was done. And yeah, obviously that shows intent at that point. So again, it doesn't take a genius to figure out who's actually genuine and who's not. You know, people are just, at the end of the day, they form parasocial relationships and they feel the need to defend, you know, the people they watch, you know, for some reason. And because they were the first one to introduce them to the subject, so now they owe them something, I guess, right? Because they were the first ones to introduce this subject to you. So now I pledge my allegiance now to you at all costs, you know, because you introduced the subject to me. Like, talk about a cult. Talk about a cult mentality, you know, like that is a cult mentality. To throw away all common sense in favor of a guru, in other words, or, you know, or someone you look up to, you know. So at the end of the day, we're all equals. I don't see why people are looking up to anyone. You know, it's kind of weird. Nobody should be looking up to no one, you know, and nobody should be looking down at no one. You know, we're all equals at the end of the day. But yet people have this like mentality, again, this hierarchy structure mentality that people have adopted, that people have, you know, implemented into their being, you know, type of thing. Where it's like, yeah, we're at different levels, you know, even though it's a free society, and we're all equal. It's about equality, right? People are talking about equality, right? But yet they'll gladly accept that, oh, some people are above me, and who am I, when people are way smarter than me, blah 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 blah. So at the end of the day, people accept this structure at the end of the day. And again, it's through manipulation, it's through, it's not willingly, at the end of the day. It's through brainwashing. Let's be real. They brainwash people into accepting it, because we're not really accepting it. If we truly understood what was going on, with politics, science, everything about this place that we inhabit, if we actually understood what was going on, nobody in their right mind will accept the system that we're living in. So that's why they brainwash us from when we're very, very, very young into accepting this life, this way of life, and the beliefs and the teachings of this society. Because, again, if we broke out of that, we wouldn't accept this. We wouldn't accept this way of life. We wouldn't accept the hierarchy structure that we find ourselves in. The only reason why we accept it is because we have been bamboozled. We have been mentally handicapped when we're very, very young into giving away our common sense, in favor of an explanation from an expert. So that is, that's only gonna lead to detriment. There's nothing good that's ever gonna come from that. Just believing someone, especially if it contradicts, practical reality. If something contradicts practical reality, then you don't just believe, that claim. That's dumb. That's retarded at the end of the day. So people do that. Though, as Nat said earlier, we were all ignorant. I have time and patience for honesty. Willful ignorance, I can't help ridicule. Yeah, I agree, obviously. Like, if somebody's honest, then yeah, I'm all for that conversation, if you're honest with yourself. But when you're just gonna troll, or just be dishonest for whatever reason, and then why, if you can't even take the conversation serious, if you can't even take reality serious, why should I take you serious? Think about that, huh? If someone doesn't have the capacity or the ability to have a conversation about reality and take it serious, in other words, have a conversation about physics or natural science and not take it serious, and why should I take you serious? You can't even take yourself serious to be able to, take a serious conversation about this physical reality. You can't even take yourself serious. So why would I take you serious? So again, it just becomes a waste of time. You're better off, just saving that energy for someone else. At the end of the day. So. Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of people like that, and the best thing to do is just avoid those kind of people. At the end of the day, they're not ready to have a grown-up conversation, a grown-up, serious conversation, and you're just gonna waste your time. So oof. Max means, don't mistake authority for truth, but make truth your authority. Yep. Again, the only teacher we have is reality itself. Physical reality itself is like the only teacher that we actually have, like, because we learn from the practical, which is the reality, right? So we don't need someone to fucking be barking in our ear, or just just telling us a bunch of information. We don't need that. That's not a necessity. What we need is to have common sense, an accumulation of all our senses to be able to understand the reality, because again, at the end of the day, reality doesn't lie. Reality only teaches. It's only cause and effect, in this reality. So you can only learn from this reality. If you start believing humans or other people in on top of the reality shows you, now you're putting people above the reality. Like, that is insane. That is crazy. To put another human being above the reality itself, you're a fucking idiot. I hate to say it. If you're putting another human being above the reality itself when it comes to like a teacher, like, that is retarded. That is dumb. But yeah, a lot of people do that. That's the way we were trained, right? From a very young age, it's just to trust authority. Forget about the reality. Forget about natural science. Just believe the authority. Just trust authority. They're telling you the truth. There's no need to double check. There's no need to ask questions. There's no need to critically think about the claims. Just accept it. So that's what we find ourselves in. Sir Turtle Otter, it comes from the parents. Children only mimic their surroundings from young. When you ship them off to a different entity to instill thoughts, you sow what you reap. Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. Yeah. Pretty crazy. Mr. Cheswick, yeah, true, but you've got to have an interest in the subject. In all honesty, I'm just not a science guy. You know what you're good at, and what you're not good at, and if you know what I mean. Ram, it's up to you, man, if you want to learn your reality or not. Only you can motivate yourself to engage in this topic. Like you said, no interest, and your mind will keep the doors shut. Exactly. And then again, they kind of like, that's what school does to us in a way, where they start teaching us things that we don't care about. So we just naturally like put a wall up, like we don't want to learn it. Because you can't force learning, right? And schools do that. They kind of like force you to learn this, at this time, and then next month we're gonna learn this, and then again there's a whole structure to that. So when kids are forced into learning, like school does in a way, then that want to learn kind of goes away little by little. Like you just don't want to learn anymore, because you just had a bad relationship with that, you know, with just being forced, you know, just to learn different subjects. It's like you don't want to learn anymore. You know, it's like they take that want from you, from like that curiosity of wanting to learn something, you know. Because when you want to learn something, like literally you willingly want to learn something, not only is it the best way to learn something, is you wanting to, but it's the fastest way too to learn something. You know, it's the fastest way to learn something, and then the best way too is for you to willfully to you know, wanting to learn it. You know, because again, if you're just being forced to learn something, you're not, most likely you're not gonna learn it, or you're just gonna repeat without understanding, which is exactly what we experience, you know, with a lot of college students. Is they just repeat what they were told, because not only is it bullshit, but because at the end of the day, they truly didn't really want to learn it. They only come to school because they want a better job. At the end of the day, let's be real. People don't come to school because, oh, they want to better their understanding about the universe, or, you know, stuff like that. The majority of people that come to university or to college is just to get a better job. So it comes down to money. They want to make better money, so that's why they force themselves into an education. You know, it's a very small percent, in my opinion, that actually do have a passion to learn the field that they're going in, but the majority are just doing it for a paycheck. You know, going to university, you're gonna get a better job, so therefore I'm gonna force myself through that. You know, I already forced myself through high school, you know, because I had to, obviously, you know. But now they're forcing themselves through college, and yeah, again, it's just, they're just repeating what they're told. They're not truly learning, you know, and it's because it's all forced. It's all just being forced. So yeah, at the end of the day, that's handicapping us, you know, from actually learning real shit, real stuff. You know. It's interesting that the teachers who tell us about the globe Earth don't even realize the nonsense that they are regurgitating. That's true. That is true. Want to give us a shot? Two multiple choice questions that have to do with common sense. All right. Do you trust your common sense? I guess will be the first question.
Yes.
Yeah? All right, cool. So, oh, it's not this one. Oh, it's already right here. Okay. So I have 3 box trucks here, and they're completely sealed. You know, it's closed up and everything. But inside of it, there's a bowling ball hanging with a rope inside. So one box truck is at rest, one is accelerating forward, and one is accelerating in reverse. So out of these 3, which one is at rest?
Which one's at rest?
Yes.
Wouldn't it just be all of them?
No.
I mean, if the bowling ball is not actually being forced to do anything, and it's just the string that's moving with the truck, wouldn't the bowling ball be at rest?
Well, that's at a constant velocity. I'm talking about one is at rest, one is accelerating forward, and one is accelerating in reverse.
But without any of the variables, how am I supposed to say that this one isn't still moving forward, but this is the point in time it was captured at?
Oh, well, that's the thing. It's not constant velocity. The question is, if one of these 3 was at rest, which one would you say?
Is the truck at rest?
Yeah, which truck is at rest, would you say, out of these 3?
All 3 of them?
You think they're all... So you can have a truck at rest, and you think the bowling ball is just going to stay in the back like that?
Well, I can... That's the thing, is if we're talking about the truck, then I can say all 3 of them arguably at
No,
the
I was
same-
talking about the truck.
But if you're saying the bowling ball...
No, I'm talking about the truck. Which one of these trucks is at rest?
It could be both of them. Or all of them.
You think they could all be at rest?
Well, what if the truck...
How can this one be at rest, I guess? I mean, maybe if it was
If it's
parked on a
parked
hill...
like this?
Yeah, on a hill. Okay, they're all level. Let me just rephrase that. They're all level. One of them's at rest, one is accelerating forward, and one is accelerating in reverse. So, on a level surface, which one will be at rest from these 3?
That one.
Yes, that's the obvious one, right? Yeah. Which one will be accelerating forward on a level surface? I mean, I don't think that really matters. Yes, why is that one accelerating forward?
Because as you move, the bowling ball is going to stay at rest until the rope starts pulling it.
Yes, exactly. So due to inertia. you know. So yeah, you got it. All right, perfect. So that was the first one. So you get it. So the second one, pretty similar. Again, level surface, same scenario, same everything. The only difference is instead of a bowling ball, is a helium balloon inside of the box truck. So which box truck is at rest?
Same logic.
Yes, same logic, exactly. Which one's accelerating forward?
No.
This one's actually C. And the reason why it's C is because the air is actually more dense than the helium that's inside of the box truck. So when you accelerate the box truck forward in this scenario, the air that's inside the box truck is also being pushed forward in that same direction. And because air is more dense than helium, is able to push the helium in that same direction of the force. So that's why it's C, you know. And I can demonstrate that with this buoyant object here. So this is a buoyant ball inside of water. Obviously the water's more dense. If I apply a force in this direction, what direction will the ball go?
Well, if you're arguing for that, then it should be moving that way.
Yes, and it does. You know, so that's what happens in reality. You know, something is less dense than the medium that surrounds it. Depending on the direction the medium is moving, that's the direction that the buoyant object's going to get pushed. You know, so here I did this experiment myself in a cargo van, and I want to see if you could tell what direction I accelerated. So instead of a bowling ball, I used an apple, but same principles. What direction would you say I accelerated here? To the right or to the left? To the right, exactly, because that's the direction that the air is pushing the helium. Meaning the air, it's being pushed in that same direction as well.
So are you a physics major?
Not a physics major, just physics enthusiast, you could say. So here I did it in a smaller scale with a container like this, with a ping pong ball and a steel ball. So inside of water, but in different states of matter, but same principles. What direction they accelerate, to the right or to the left? Which one would you say?
Oh, no.
Exactly. Yeah. All right, you get it. So matter will always react to an acceleration. That's another thing. And buoyancy will always follow the direction of the force.
Okay.
Yeah. So last one, I had a water bottle like this with a ping pong ball and a steel ball, but I only accelerated one down like that vertically. So out of these two, which one would you say I accelerated down vertically? The one on the left or the one on the right?
That one went down.
Yes, it was this one, exactly. Because again, the buoyant object got pushed down in the direction of the force, and then the steel ball got left behind due to inertia. Because obviously the water wasn't dense enough to push it down like it did the ping pong ball, it just got left behind. So let me ask you this. If I have this object like this and I have it at rest, and I just simply released it, do you believe gravity pulled it down?
Only, yeah.
Yeah, right? You believe that everything accelerated down to the earth, right? From being at rest. So the one on the left was actually free fall, but we see that matter didn't react to that acceleration like it did in this one. And the reason why is because, I don't know if you knew, gravity is just a theory. So a pulling force of gravity has never been actually physically measured or detected.
Well, I mean, it's not a theory. It's called the law of gravity.
What's it?
The way science works is that if you can prove that something, if you were to drop it, floats up, then it becomes a theory, and then they have to do the math to prove that that is not a law anymore.
Right. Well, the law of gravity is not called a law of gravity, because you've heard of the Einstein's theory of relativity, the bending and warping of space-time.
Yeah.
So that's a theory, and that's the theory to explain why objects accelerate down without any effects of acceleration. Because again, acceleration will always require a force, and a force will always cause pressure. So that pressure is what pushes buoyant objects in a particular
Are you
direction.
familiar with anti-realism?
What is that?
It's a school of thought in quantum physics where they believe that there's multiple branches of how quantum physics works, and then one school of thought is that anti-realism is how quantum mechanics works, and the fact that we perceive it, and so it is real. So, say it was nighttime and it was a full moon. The moon does not exist because I'm not currently looking at the moon, but once I do look at the moon, it does exist.
Okay.
So
that's kind of.
But what you're arguing is perception of this science, right? So
it's not just perception; it's it's physical as well.
Okay, but let me ask you this.
Yes.
Going off of anti-realism, if you weren't looking at it, can you say for sure that gravity wouldn't be doing what it's said to do, as you were saying?
I would say there's a different thing that's happening that can be demonstrated and repeated. So something that can actually be proven it's happening, other than the pulling force of gravity.
So then what is it?
So if we understand buoyancy, we'll always follow the direction of the force, and that can be demonstrated here on Earth. If I have a helium balloon here and I release it, what direction does it go? Why do you think it goes up?
Why do you think it goes up?
Because it's less dense than the air, and the air is able to push it up. Would you agree or disagree with that?
So then what are you saying about us then?
So what's pushing up the air to be able to push up the helium, because in this scenario it was the truck that created the force to push the air to push the helium. What's creating the force here on Earth to push the air up to push the helium?
But what's also keeping the Earth from not going downward?
What do you mean?
If you're saying that the way that gravity works, if you're redefining the terms of gravity and the fact that it's density, and that if there's a less dense object, it'll move up versus down, what's to say that the Earth is not less dense than space, which is absolutely nothingness, right? So why wouldn't we just be free falling downward?
Oh, you're talking about why isn't like...
Well, think about it. You
Yeah.
were just saying how in this diagram over here, the steel ball was not moving because it was free fall, right? So
free
if
fall.
we are moving downward because of buoyancy and the fact that there is absolutely nothing, and that we are a denser object, and we as in the planet, right?
Right.
So are we moving down?
So the density layers don't just create themselves based on the density differences. It requires an external force to dictate the density layers. So the force of the Earth is not a pull, is a push.
Okay,
So that's
what
the
about
only
the
difference.
sun?
So the sun and the moon are completely, when we're
Not
talking
the
about...
moon, the sun.
Well, the sun, I don't know what the sun is. And if I'm being honest, nobody knows what the sun is. That's the
If
reality.
you're going to redefine the term for one celestial body, it has to be the entire system that's a part of it. That's why
Right.
we call
Well,
it the solar system.
Well, let's stick to the Earth first, and then we'll talk about the sky. But talking about the Earth, so the buoyancy, obviously, the helium balloon will rise because it's less dense in the air, which is pushing it up. So the Earth itself is literally moving up, which is pushing up the air, which is pushing up the helium, and that's why we're stuck to the Earth, is because we're not being pulled towards the Earth, it's the Earth pushing up against us. So that's where they flip the script of what gravity is. So gravity is the motion of the Earth. That's what gravity
Okay,
is, a push
but
of the Earth.
You're also talking about how the fact that there is a specific limit in the sky where which helium balloons will not go up, right?
Yes, because the density, it equilibrates with the density up there. Because it becomes the same density, so now that air's not able to push it up further.
Okay.
Because only that something that's more dense can push something that's less dense.
So what about the stable?
What about it?
Well, what about it? I mean, isn't it more dense?
Yeah, so if we put it in the air and release it, the air is not dense enough to push it, so it's just gonna fall. Anything that's more dense in
What
the
about
air,
this?
yeah, it's more dense in the air.
Is this more dense than the table?
It's less dense.
So it's less dense.
Yeah.
So arguably, this is going to fall at lesser rate, right?
What do you mean? It's gonna fall at less gravity? You're saying?
So look,
Yeah,
it's falling, right?
yeah, it falls.
All right.
But that's not because it's actually falling down. It's the Earth that's moving up.
So the Earth is moving up.
Yes,
so,
and that's why things appear to go down. They only appear to go down, but physically they're not. It's
All
the
right,
Earth
let's
that's moving up.
Go more macroscopic.
Yeah,
Right.
sure.
Going back to what I was saying about the Earth, right? So
Sure.
rather than going down in free fall, you're suggesting that we're moving up.
Yes, and that's what gives us all the effects here on Earth.
Okay.
From weight,
and so
buoyancy.
what
everything.
about people that are in the Antarctic right now?
Okay, I was gonna get there. So you believe the Earth is a ball, right?
Mhm.
Obviously, right? So you understand that on a ball, up is relative. So if you're standing here, up with this way. If you're standing down here, up is this way. In every direction away from the center will be up on a ball.
Because of what?
Well, that's because of gravity. It's the opposite direction of gravity. And theoretically, right, on a ball, up is relative, right? That's my point. But if we could prove that gravity is not a pull of the Earth, it's actually a push, and buoyancy shows us that, how can the Earth be moving up in every direction away from the center if it was a ball?
Can you restate that?
So if we could prove that the ground, the Earth, is literally pushing up and not pulling you down, because buoyancy shows us that. So, if we could prove that, how can the Earth move up in every direction away from the center if it was a ball? How can it move up?
What you're describing now is that if I were to be in the Antarctic, I'm a buoyant object compared to the air.
No.
Because if, say, whatever shape this is moving upwards and I'm here, in order for me to continue moving with it, I would have to be a buoyant object.
You, in my opinion, because you're more dense in the air, if it was a ball, people, if it's moving up like that, people in the bottom of, relative to the people on top, would just get left behind.
But what you're describing is the fact that if I'm here,
Yes.
and then suddenly I find myself here, somehow in between that point of travel, I'm less dense. Because if your planetary body's moving upwards, and I'm more dense than the air that is in the atmosphere right here,
Yeah.
that would suggest that I'm less dense when I'm here. Otherwise, I would be at the bottom of the atmosphere, because the air should be rising up, which to say is that everything should rise up like it's a balloon around the Earth. So there should be no atmosphere below here at all.
Right. So
So
here's
everything should be dead right here.
yes. So here's the thing: if we could prove that it's the ground physically moving up and pushing up against you and not pulling you down, then that would mean from a globe Earth perspective, the Earth will have to be expanding to be able to push up in every direction away from the center.
Everything's expanding. That's how the universe works.
Which means the Earth will have to be growing by the second, and it will just explode.
But is the Earth growing, or is it the universe that's growing?
Well, they say the universe is growing. They don't say the Earth is growing.
They say?
Basically, scientists, astrophysicists. No, that's what they say. That.
No, but what do you say?
What I say is that if we could prove that it's the ground pushing up and not pulling you down, that would debunk the globe Earth theory, because in order for people to believe in the ball Earth theory, they first have to believe in the theory of gravity and the pulling
you're saying the universe
force.
is not expanding, right?
I don't know what's outside of the Earth.
You're saying that the universe is not expanding, but rather that these celestial bodies are themselves, right? Otherwise, we'd be crashing into Mars and Venus and everything else, right?
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is that in order to believe in the ball Earth, you have to believe in gravity being a pulling force. Because if we could prove that it's a pushing force, it wouldn't work from a globe Earth.
If this container were the universe, right?
Sure.
And then this is your Earth, and it's expanding.
Sure.
That means that we're going to break out of this container at some point.
Yes.
So you're arguing that right now we're inside of a box.
I'm arguing right now that the Earth is not a ball. It's actually a level plane, and we're all standing on the top of the topographical plane, and
So
it's
you're
moving in
arguing
one
for a flat
direction.
Earth.
Not flat Earth. Flat Earth is a psyop too. I'm actually exposing flat Earth as well. So the Earth is a level plane, and it's only moving in one direction through space, which is up.
So you believe it's just a plane of existence and it doesn't
Yes.
have shape?
I don't know the exact shape, because I would say that it's not infinite. The Earth is not infinite. So if you go in one direction, you're eventually going to reach the end of the Earth.
So arguably, like the first edition of Mario, if I walk off the map over here, I'm going to come back around over
No,
here.
that's like the Pac-Man theory that I've heard of other flat Earth. No, you're going to reach a wall. You're going to reach the container of the
But that's
Earth.
what you're describing with the plane, right?
Yeah, the
if
plane.
I keep moving this way,
You're gonna-
inevitably I'm going to come back
No.
around facing this way again.
No. You're just going to reach the end of the Earth. You're going to reach
the end of the Earth.
Yes, like some kind of container. I don't know what it looks like. But in my opinion, the
That does
government...
sound a bit like flat Earth talk.
No, it does sound a bit like flat Earth, but here's the difference. Over 95% of flat earthers claim the Earth is motionless. So they deny the fact that the Earth exerts a force. But
Well, I mean, we're not really describing their physics of it. We're just describing how they see the shape of it.
no, but here's the difference. Motionless flat Earth is not different than the globe Earth, because they believe objects accelerate down in free fall as well.
You align yourself with science, right?
Yes,
But you
practical
don't-
science,
But you
yeah.
don't align yourself with all science, right? Like gravity.
Well, gravity is, I wouldn't say is natural science. I would say it's
But you're
formal
not
science.
aligning yourself with it, right?
No, I only align myself with natural
So,
science.
if the flat earthers are, advocating for a shape,
Sure.
but you're not advocating for all of their sciences,
Yeah.
except for the fact that we live on a linear plane, right?
Sure, a horizontal plane.
Excluding mountains and other such things
Yes.
like the tree that's right over there that's
Yes.
clearly taller than us, right?
Yes, horizontal plane.
So technically you are in fact a flat earther.
No.
But you just don't advocate for all flat earthers. Just the same way that you're not advocating for all science that's
No.
publicated.
Flat earthers, again, they're no different than the globe, because the number one proof that debunks the globe is the fact that the Earth is pushing, not pulling.
Okay.
Because gravity requires that pulling force to be a belief in order
How
to
do you
explain.
describe time?
So time is just a concept based on the motion of
Well,
the
yeah,
sun.
time is a concept.
Based on the
yes,
motion of the
but
sun.
there is a general idea that we've constituted for its speed, right?
Well, again, it is relative to motion. Yeah, in this case, our time comes from, our calendar comes from the motion of the sun.
The motion of the sun, and how does the motion of the sun affect us?
I don't know how the sun works, and nobody knows. That's the reality.
But that's not what we base our time off of.
It is the
The
motion of
space-time continuum, how the speed of time flows, right, is because of what
You tell me.
gravity was.
So bending and warping of space-time is what you're saying.
Pretty much, but
So a theory.
but what happens
Yeah.
is gravity is the one that's stretching the continuum.
Right.
So in order for us to have this passing time right here, there has to be gravity.
Sure. So how have you verified this, if I may ask? Like, and I've heard these claims before about bending and warping of space-time, and all of these.
I took an apprenticeship under a physicist.
And then how did you prove it to yourself, if I may
Can I
ask?
prove it to myself?
Yeah.
I can't. It's beyond my perception
Oh.
because I'm a third-dimensional creature. But
Would you say it's based on faith then that you take these claims?
God no.
Because when it comes to natural science, in my opinion, faith has no place in there.
The way I see it is this:
Yes.
I caught it because it went down.
No, you caught it because you went up to it.
I didn't go up to it.
Yes, you did.
Hand stay still.
Yeah. Yeah, you went up.
It hit my hand.
Yeah, because it started to slow down and you just came
So
up
what
to
you're
it.
arguing is that everything that's in the air is free falling.
If it's not connected to something that's connected to the Earth, then yeah, it's going to be free falling.
So if my hand does not exist, it's free falling right now.
Yeah, it's going to free fall, but it only looks like it goes down, but because everything else is moving up.
But you just said that everything's expanding.
No, if it was a ball Earth, then it would have to expand. In my opinion, matter cannot expand into infinity. That's
So
retarded.
you're not saying that the Earth is expanding.
No, the Earth is just moving up in one direction.
It's moving up, right?
Yes, it's just moving up.
Okay, so once again, if I'm in Antarctica, where is this going to go?
Antarctica is just across the way. So I don't know exactly where it is relative to the other continents, but it's just across the way. It's,
Have you ever left the country?
yeah, I've done.
And how was your experience there?
What do you mean?
Was gravity the same?
Yeah,
Everything went up?
exactly. Because everybody's up is up. Because that's the motion of the Earth.
What happens if I jump?
The Earth catches up again.
So what you're saying is that
You never come back down.
if I was on Mars, right, and say gravity goes down, like not gravity, but Mars goes down, right, instead of up,
Why would it go down, though, if I may ask?
because you're saying that the Earth goes up. So now I'm saying hypothetically, if Mars is going down, because the Earth is going up, and the fact that if I jump, I can elevate myself to about, I think my jumping height's maybe like 9 feet or something like that. So if I can jump 9 feet on Earth, and Earth is going up, trying to catch up with me,
Yes.
if I'm on Mars going down, I'm jumping like 30 feet.
Yeah, I mean, theoretically. But here's the thing. Terra firma planets that they're claiming are outside of the Earth system, aka the stars and planets. This is what they actually look like. Nobody knows exactly what they are. So these are the stars, and they're just making up stories about what's outside of the Earth.
Well, one thing
At the end of the day,
I
nobody
want to
knows.
say is this.
Yeah.
You just said,
Yes.
and you agreed to it,
Yes.
that if I jumped on Mars and Mars was going down, I'd go 30 feet up, right?
Let's just say if the Earth was moving down instead, because Mars is just
what
a
I
light.
want to say is this.
Yeah.
You confirmed it, yes?
Well, I just said it just to hear your point, but in reality, Mars
So you
doesn't.
didn't agree.
No, Mars is not
You
a
didn't
terra
agree
firma.
if I were to say that Mars was going down.
Well,
and
Mars-
if I can jump 9 feet on Earth,
Yeah.
and I jump on Mars, I would not jump higher than 9 feet, right?
Again, Mars.
We're just talking about hypothetically.
Hypothetically,
if,
sure,
If
yes.
Mars did
It's
exist
moving
and
down.
it was going down,
Yes.
right? Okay.
You wouldn't
so-
even need to jump.
But what you're describing is the fact that if I were to jump,
Sure.
I'd actually jump outside of Mars because Mars is moving away from me.
That's the thing. You wouldn't even need to jump if it was moving away from you. You just stand and you just stay floating here, and it'll just move away from
But
you.
you did acknowledge the fact that I would be on Mars, right?
Hypothetically,
standing
yeah. If
on
you're
Mars.
hypothetically, if Mars was a planet,
Why would you hypothetically condone something against your own theory?
What do you? Okay, well,
If you're
I'm
arguing,
going based on your
if you're
hypothetical.
arguing
Hypothetical is
that
not real.
gravity is,
A push.
us being affected by the movements of the planetary bodies, right?
well,
So
right
why
here,
would
the
you
Earth itself.
go
only.
with my idea and then agree with the what I was saying?
I'm
if
only
it
agreeing
goes
with it
against
because
what
it's
you
a
said?
hypothetical. You're saying
Well,
that.
yes, a hypothetical, but what you're also saying is,
But in reality, it was not possible.
well, if I was arguing for you, instead of your response of saying,
Yeah.
well, yeah, I would have then said, no, you're not going to jump up 30 feet, but rather, in fact, you are just going to stand still because Mars is trying to get away from you.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, you corrected me. I will agree with that one.
But
Yeah.
at the same time, people who are on the other side, in the South Pole, the planet's moving away from them, and
Yeah.
they don't need to do anything, right?
No.
Okay, so then right now millions of people are dying because every time that they go past a certain area, they start falling off the planet.
Well, that's if planets exist. Planets don't exist. The Earth is
Then
not
what
even a
is this?
planet. The Earth is a level plane.
It's a level
It's a plane of existence.
Okay.
And then it's moving up.
So what you're arguing more so is psychology.
Well, it's not psychology, it's physics.
You're applying physics.
Yes, because this is natural science. It's
Now,
physics to
I'm
be
going to
specific.
admit the fact that I don't know everything in physics. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
I certainly, like every physicist and every physics enthusiast, right?
Sure.
I like to describe it as this. We're all level 1, and we want to read about level 100 stuff, but there's all this in between that we have to really work and spend a lot of time with, right? So that's all the laws that, may go against an idea we
Yes.
have.
Yes.
What if I wanted to use quantum teleportation to transport the information of my body over there, right?
Right.
But then there's Coulomb's law or something like that, I mean, obviously Coulomb's law might not have to do with it, but I'm just saying it in general.
Yeah.
Is that there's something that I might not know that gets in the way with it, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is this. As enthusiasts, we don't know everything, and that's why you see a team of people.
Sure.
So arguably, can you say that you're wrong?
Arguably, no.
You don't think that there's any potential chance at all?
No.
So if I were to say that my shirt is not gray, but rather it's blue, you'd argue against it?
Well, now we're talking about different people can perceive light differently, so
No. If you and I have the same color spectrum, right?
how do we know that?
Hypothetically, you and I have the same color spectrum,
Then,
right?
yeah, our color should be the same.
You're handed this marker.
Sure.
It's blue. You're handed this marker. It's black. Except for as a kid, you're told that this is black and that this is blue, even though this is clearly blue and this is black,
Right.
even though I told you the wrong thing. You're going to walk into kindergarten the next day and tell people that you know your colors, and then you're going to be told that you're wrong.
Okay, sure. The label we put on the color show is wrong.
So you're telling me that our colors are wrong.
No, color is what it is. It's just the label we put on.
Color is a metaphor for gravity right now. You're telling me because we were told that everything falls down and that the Earth is a sphere.
Yeah.
So what you're telling me is that when I was taught that this goes down and that this is a sphere, that I was taught wrong.
Yes.
Who taught you?
Reality. Reality is my teacher.
Mm-hmm. And can I get their business card?
Well, here I can show you. So this is part of reality. This little this is an accelerometer, and it's
Mm-hmm.
and it's an accelerometer because it detects the presence of a force.
Okay.
So the buoyant object will always get pushed in the direction of the force. In other words, in the direction this is moving through space, that will push the ball in that same direction 100% of the time. So in free fall, if they're claiming a downwards acceleration of this whole container moving down in space, then that ball should get pushed down towards the ground like it did in the example.
But that's density and not gravity.
Yeah. Well, density is created by the density gradient is created by gravity, which is a push, not a pull. Because
what you can argue is the fact that if something is heavier, it's going to push past other stuff to go down, right?
No, it's just the air is not dense enough to push it up, so the air is passing through the dense object, not the object passing
Follow
through the
me
air.
here. Say you make a banana milkshake. You ever leave one of those in the fridge for too long?
Sure.
Eventually, the banana is like very light, so it goes past all the
Yeah, it
water
separates.
and other stuff, right? Yeah. So you're saying that the lighter weight objects within the container are going to push past these heavier objects.
Well, if they're right on top of it, completely seen, then they can't push past it. But if there's like openings,
Let
then
me ask you
eventually it
something.
will.
If there was someone that was about 3 times my weight and they decided to sit on me, am I going to push past them and go up?
No, but if I
Why not?
put something above this ball, I mean, depending how big it is, if it's like not that big, eventually the ball's gonna get pushed around it. But if it's like a big surface area, then it's just gonna hit the top.
But how can you argue against the fact that something just didn't roll off of it?
This didn't roll off of it? What do you mean?
If you put another heavier object in the way, right?
Yeah.
How can you argue that something isn't just going to roll off of it?
Sure, my point is, this ball is being pushed up right now. Would you agree or disagree?
I disagree.
You disagree?
Yeah, I disagree.
So what do you think is happening here then, if I may ask?
How does liquids work? Why is the liquid in the shape of this container right here?
Because water doesn't have a form. So it
But
takes,
I'm looking at
it
right
takes
now.
the shape of the container and the
It takes
surface.
the shape of its container. Okay.
Sure.
So, arguably, this buoyancy test is a little bit faulted in terms of, comparing it to your reality of gravity, right? Because the ball, the string, and the stick at the bottom that's keeping it, all together,
Yeah.
that's a part of your container.
Yeah, all of that's part of the container.
So the water is actually forming itself to fit the container.
Yes.
So then, once again, if that's wrong, how can you argue for gravity being the Earth pushing us up?
No, the Earth. So this contains. So you people believe that the water is being pulled down into the container, but is the container pushing up, and the water is just there. So when water is being released in the air, the water's not accelerating down. It's the container that pushes
Perfect
up.
example right here is that there's an air bubble right
Yes.
here.
Yes.
Okay? So the way gas works is that it's much more freer in terms of its particles than liquids, right?
Sure.
Okay. So if we're pushing up,
Mhm.
this bubble wouldn't be as thick as it is, right? Wouldn't it be more spread out?
Well, it is spread out a little bit like that, right?
No, it'd be more spread out than that.
So you're not saying. So you're saying this bubble is not being pushed up?
So what I'm saying is that I walked over here and my perception of the bubble is that it's at state 0 and you've been here and it's at state 5, right? So you're saying that in your perception of this bubble, it's already been spread out. But I haven't seen any such thing. Because we're arguing for perception.
Right.
So I haven't seen this bubble spread thin at all.
Right. It's
So-
being pushed up against the top of the container right now, though.
It's being pushed up?
Yeah.
Or is the water being pushed up?
They're both being pushed up right now.
So
But
the
because
container
that-
is pushing up the water,
And the water's pushing up the bubble and the ball.
but then why isn't the bubble spreading thin?
Because you mean you apply more force, probably.
Okay, but say in another container, you know how sometimes bubbles can be circular?
Yeah.
Okay, so then why isn't this circular bubble suddenly becoming a blob for being pushed up? Why is it saying perfectly circular?
You're saying this one's staying perfectly circular?
No, I'm saying that say this blob right here
Right.
was a perfect circle, right?
Sure.
And it had just formed. Why isn't it spreading out into some sort of odd shape to fit, you know, being pushed
Right.
in this container right now?
Right, because obviously the pressure of the water too is keeping it from spreading all the way very, 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 very thin. It's the
Okay,
pressure of
so
the water
what-
itself as well.
Spreading very thin, right?
Yeah, it's
Earth
keeping.
is a plane.
Earth is a plane.
Okay, but if 70% of Earth is water, who's to say that that argument isn't saying that it's keeping the plane from spreading out? You could say that it is a plane, but in reality, it's being folded together as a sphere because of water, right?
No.
But
The
you
wa-
just advocated for a container. Why can't it be
Yeah,
for
the
the
con-
entire planet?
So the container of the oceans and the lakes are just craters. So you know how a lake, if you empty the water from a
Mhm.
lake, what are you left with?
You're left with all the rocks.
We're left with the crater, with like a hole, pretty much.
Okay, but once again,
That's the container. So the
If-
oceans are no different.
not even on the other side of the Earth on the South Pole. You could just be on the sides.
Yeah.
Anybody who's not at the exact top and like a certain radius around that would be falling off.
That's because the Earth is not a globe.
But have
The
you
Earth-
been to space?
Nobody's been to space.
No one's been to space.
No, but you want to know how I know that?
How?
Have you
Did
heard of
reality
this?
tell you?
The second law of thermodynamics, and you know the law of entropy? There's a real law. You know? What's the law of entropy?
It's talking about how chaos is, you know, always in the system.
Yeah, so high pressure will always rush into a lower pressure unless you have a solid barrier separating two opposing pressure systems.
High pressure will always run to the lower pressure.
Yes, because of entropy.
The water has more or less density than that ball.
The water has more density than the ball. Yes.
So would you say that it has more force? Because you just said
Sure, yeah,
entropy, we can compare that in an experiment to a system.
sure.
So if high pressure is running into lower pressure, you just said that the water is running into the ball.
It's pushing up the ball because it's more dense.
No, you just said that it's pushing into the ball.
It's pushing the ball
And
up.
so the way that it's now working is that it's trying to fit the container and, you know, reach the ultimate chaotic state, except for, you know, it's theoretically impossible to reach ultimate chaos because it could get even more crazy, right?
Sure.
So if more high pressure is pushing in and it's trying to fill this container, right?
Right.
Okay.
How are we adding more pressure to this, if I may ask?
Gravity.
What do we do to it to add more pressure? Well, you're just saying gravity.
If you're
Physically,
going
what
to
do we do
argue
to it?
against one law of science, then you're going to start unraveling other ones where they're intertangled, right? That's the same thing with time,
Right.
and how you also said that our planet is not spherical but rather a plane, right?
Yes.
So you didn't just touch one area, you touched multiple areas. But I don't think that you're grasping at every aspect, because the way that science is that it's infinite. There are a whole lot of things that you don't know.
Sure.
And that there's a whole lot of things that nobody knows because it's still being discovered, right?
Right.
So if you're saying entropy
Yes.
is high pressure versus low pressure,
Yes.
so that means the high pressure is pushing everything out of the way so it fits this. The entropy of the water versus the entropy of this buoyant ball.
Sure.
So what's happening here is that the water is pushing down.
It's resisting the upwards push because of inertia. Sure, you could say that. But it's not moving down. Nothing moves down. It's just resisting the upwards push.
So how are
because
you
of
going to
inertia.
stand up?
I have to use my muscles. I have to use the force
So,
to overcome the force of the earth keeping me down.
but your force is stronger than something that is millions of tons more.
Well, my force just has to be strong enough to overcome my body's inertia to be able to stand up.
But what you're describing is that your force is millions of tons. Hi,
No.
Matt! Hey, Matt, come over here.
Well,
Over
I already spoke to him earlier.
Well, I mean, you know, it's still. It looks like the TV.
Yeah, I know. I saw.
You were checking out the live?
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. I know
Nice,
it's-
nice.
Okay,
No,
so
so here's the thing. The reason why I brought entropy into the
But
conversation.
entropy no longer is relevant.
No. But here, let me just make
It
my
is
point.
no longer relevant.
No, it is
because
relevant.
High pressure can't meet low pressure if things don't go down.
Here, let me see. So you understand that they claim that outer space is a near perfect vacuum, right?
Yeah.
See, right? So it's a negative pressure system in comparison to the Earth's pressure system, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're claiming that the outer space and Earth's pressure system are coexisting next to each other without a solid barrier separating the two.
So
That
if we
defies
have
physics.
the plane right here, right?
Yes.
Where's space?
Well, outer space, as we're being told, what's outside of the Earth, a vacuum, that I don't believe in. I don't know
So
what's outside.
of here?
I don't know. I know that we're being physically contained somehow.
Did reality not tell you?
We can't know everything
But why did reality tell you this and not tell you anything else?
because I don't have access to outside of the Earth.
So,
That's why.
access outside of the Earth or access to information?
Access to outside of the Earth. I don't have access to go outside of the Earth to see
then
what's outside.
if you don't have access to outside the Earth, but you do have access to a seemingly endless amount of information that none of us have, right? So
No, it's the information I'm presenting here is practical physics. It's how matter behaves under conditions of acceleration and force
how did reality tell you?
by playing around with matter. That's how technology was.
Reality played around with matter, or you?
I played around with matter.
You played around it.
Yes.
So did reality tell you, or did you figure it out?
I figured it out, but reality was the
So why were
teacher,
you
was the
telling-
one showing me, I guess, what's happening.
That's not quite the same thing.
I didn't
reality,
create reality.
Reality is a perceptual place.
Sure, I didn't create reality.
It's not
though.
a physical place, and it's not something that can be personified to tell us things.
We can understand things here in reality.
understand things, but it's not going to tell us.
Well,
We're
understanding,
figuring our shit out.
I would say understanding is one step forward to.
But what you're saying is that you figured this stuff out.
yeah, how matter behaves at a fundamental level.
Okay,
Yes.
and do you have anybody who also has figured this out?
Oh yeah, there's plenty of people online.
Online.
We're the
But
minority within the
Why
minority.
aren't they here?
They have 9 to 5. The system is keeping everybody down from actually doing this. I have
You
to.
said that this was a live stream, right?
Yeah.
So why aren't they like doing like a split screen sort of thing with you?
I'll actually do call-ins.
I mean, like right now. Why not?
But why would I talk to other people that are
Because
when
what
it's
reality is telling me right now is that only you are here, because only I can see you. That's what I'm being
You're-
taught by my physical space around me.
you're focusing on the wrong thing. You're
No,
focusing on me.
but
You should be
what
focusing on the
I
on the
can do
examples.
that, but what I'm saying
Yeah.
is that as far as I know, you just came up with this because you were bored.
No. You don't. Would you agree
Prove that.
Yeah, buoyancy.
No, prove that you weren't
I'm-
bored.
Yeah, I'm proving.
How
it.
are you going to prove it?
No, I'm gonna prove that what I'm
But
saying.
you can't take me back to the exact point in which you had this epiphany.
Well, when I had this epiphany, it had nothing to do with me being bored. I was actually fascinated with
Can you show me the math?
the math for what? Oh, here, I'll show you some math. Do you know the radius of the Earth?
At one point I did.
Okay, the radius of the Earth is 3,959 miles,
Mhm.
allegedly. So based on the radius of the Earth, we can calculate for the circumference, which is the distance from the surface all around, 24,901 miles, allegedly. Based on the circumference of the Earth and the radius of the Earth they're giving us, there has to be curvature every mile, and every mile that curvature has to increase. So in the first mile, there's an 8-inch drop, second mile, 32 inches, and by the third mile, there should be 6 feet of measurable curvature. How do we measure for that curve, right? There's a very easy way. If we went out to a giant lake that was miles across, and we build a level structure over the body of water, the water on the lake is going to show us that it's going to be parallel to anything horizontal, because once water is contained in that rest, the surface always forms an equal surface, which is level. So they're trying to tell us
How
that the
does it
surface.
form this equal surface though?
What do you mean? How does it form?
How does it form
Because
this equal
water doesn't
surface?
have a shape. It takes the shape of the container, and then the surface always forms a horizontal.
Same thing with the bubble though. Wouldn't it just spread itself thin?
Well, like I said, it probably requires more force, or it's because of the because depending on how you hold it, obviously the shape changes too. So the container has a lot to do with it and how much force you apply.
So at what force do you think that we're being pushed up right now?
I have no clue.
You have no clue.
I have no clue how fast the Earth is moving up.
So
No clue.
you said fast. That's a key word right there.
I don't know the
What
velocity.
if it was slow? You know, like you didn't say slow or
I don't
just
think-
briskly moving. You said fast.
Yeah, I don't think the Earth is moving. In my opinion, I can't prove this, but I don't think the Earth is moving anything less than 1,000 miles an hour.
1,000 miles per hour. So we're being pushed up 1,000 miles per hour.
At least. Again, my
That is
opinion.
a significant amount of pressure right now.
Right. You know
but shouldn't my legs be breaking right now?
You know how fast the Earth is spinning supposedly and moving around the sun supposedly?
Well, it's not spinning. It's a plane.
No, but if it was a globe, because you believe this, you know how fast the globe Earth is supposedly spinning?
Tell me.
Over 1,000 miles an hour.
Mhm.
Do you know how fast it's traveling around the sun supposedly?
Way faster.
Over 66,000 miles an hour. Do you know how fast the sun is traveling around the Milky Way? Over 500,000 miles an hour. Do you know how fast the Milky Way is traveling through space? 1.2 million miles an hour. So we have 4 fast motions right now, supposedly on a globe, but we don't feel any but the upwards push.
Okay, and you wanna go? I wasn't done. Alright, fine. Say hi to reality for me.
All right, all right, man. You guys take care. All right, appreciate it. Whew, alrighty. Ooh, the mental gymnastics there was crazy. I think his friend came to like rescue him or something. I don't know. His friend came to rescue him from reality right now. Nah, but the guy that came was the one I was speaking to before, and obviously he was way more open. He probably told his other friend to come. I doubt that. Maybe it could have been a coincidence. Maybe he did just come randomly after. That's crazy though. All right. Oh, all right. Well, that's gonna be it. So, yeah. Thanks again for everybody that showed up. Everybody that likes the videos, that shares them. As always, I appreciate it. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.